Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the recap show of season one of Stones Throw Cities Beneath. I am your host, Anna Prosser. I also play Luna. With us are Christina, Rachel, Bo, and Nathan Sharp, our DM, whose eyes you cannot see, but whose heart you can sense. Uh,
Oh,
Oh, fuck
yeah.
did you just say?
that's crazy.
If you found yourself here, you probably have one of a few motivations. One is you watched season one and you loved it, and you're here to relive it with us because you enjoy hanging out with us, in which case, thanks. We're glad you're here. Maybe you knew about the show, but you just kept feeling like you couldn't quite catch up and you want to start watching live for season two. So you're here so you can get completely caught up for season one. Or maybe a friend of yours was like, hey, I want you to watch this show live with me during season two. And I know you haven't watched any of it. And I know you won't watch the hours upon hours of footage that there is to get caught up. So will you please watch this? And if so, we're so glad you did decide to watch this and we hope you enjoy. The goal of today is to take a look back over our first season. What we'll do is we'll have our recaps from each episode, then we'll talk a little bit about that as the cast, and we will also show you what we think is a really important clip from that episode. So it won't just be us talking the whole time. You won't get every single cool thing that happened. So if you are here and you watch this and you're like, ooh, I want more, go back and watch season one. Or also be sure to check out our social media because today what you're going to see is mostly important things to the story. And what you're going to see on social media is a lot of like, that was really funny or that was really impactful, those kinds of things that don't necessarily have to do with the overall arcs that we're talking about. We're also going to try to make sure that we're speaking mostly about our characters and the story this time. Last week we did a season one Q&A where we talked a lot more about how we as players feel and the growth we've experienced over the season, things that surprised us, things that we love to talk about, that we love to think about. Whereas we're going to try this time to spend more time talking about who our characters are, what they experienced, how they've changed, all of that. So with that, we actually have so much to show you, and we want to keep this short enough that your friends who want to watch the show won't mind watching the whole thing. So let's jump right into it. We're going to start with episode one. As a reminder, our episode one actually took place after we had already played, I think it was something like 14 hours of other sessions. We did have a prologue show that talked about everything that happened during that pre-stream time. So if you want to go all the way back there, you can. We won't talk about that today, though. We're just going to start with episode one. We didn't have recap videos at that time, but Christina, our writer extraordinaire, keeps track of every episode, writes an amazing summary, and that's where we get our previously on Stones Throw videos. So we do have a written recap, and Christina's going to read it out loud for us.
And I just got nervous. Okay. Do you want me to tell the episode titles or is that
Nate, how do you, I mean, the episode titles are on the podcast, so they're not a secret, but
okay?
how do you
Yeah,
feel
All
about featuring them?
do
all
it.
right.
Okay.
Everyone gather round. Episode 1. Too late. Mission assignments are announced and Troop B-84 finds out they've been giving retrieval. Whew. Seems much safer than removal, which sent the last few troops to the infirmary. Or worse. Master Zarnus invites Kadal for one last spar, which turns out to be a ploy to give Kadal a secret mission. Zarnus believes Marlowe is being impersonated by a no-good doppelganger and wants Kadal to find proof. Meanwhile, Luna, Lacan, and Cassia have a friendly spar with General Basterfield, 69th of his name. Cassia tries a speed spell and falls on her face. Lacan gets some impressive sword hits in, and Luna impresses Basterfield so much he accidentally instates a point system that we will be taking very seriously all of the time.
Great. So, to give you a little more context, we are part of a military installation called the Order Under. We are in the Underdark in a far future where, as far as we know, the Underdark is the only place where anyone lives and the only place that we've ever seen and any of our ancestors have ever seen. So, everything that Christina just talked about took place within the Order Under, and episode one was our kind of graduation from boot camp, if you will, where we were given a mission and were sent out into the world. Do you guys want to say anything about it before we play the clip from the episode, or should we play the clip and then talk more?
Clip.
Roll the clip. Let's
Clip.
do it. How long till we hear what we have to do?
Makan just looks pointedly at Marlowe.
Lieutenant Marlowe goes, "Oh, I have a feeling it could be any second now." And at that exact moment, the double doors of the mess hall swing and slam open as a Loxodon, a large elephant man, who you all know as General Basterfield, the general of the Order Under, enters the room. "At ease, cadets. For some of you," now you all at this point start to recognize this speech as it has been given multiple times during your time here, as every so often a new batch of troops get assigned their mission. "As for some of you, it may be your first eve here. For others, it is not. And for others, it is very not. It is in fact your last eve here before you set out on first mission at daybreak. I'm aware that there is concern over the amount of removal missions being assigned. I'm pleased to announce that the imminent threat to our fair prefecture has been eliminated, and missions are back to their normal ratios. Your missions will be as follows: B-78, reconnaissance. B-79, reconnaissance. B-80, retrieval. B-81, removal. B-82, removal. B-83, reconnaissance. B-84, retrieval. B-85, reconnaissance. Thank you all for your dedication, for Raina, and for the cooperative. At ease, and good night."
That's not as bad as it would have been,
I
right?
wonder what we're getting.
Fun. We're good at retrieval, kinda. Except we didn't retrieve the last thing. I look meaningfully at Lacan. It was lost.
A shame.
Good practice round, though.
All right, we're working on some technical issues where we couldn't hear that video, but did anyone on the cast hear that, or shall I recap it? You did?
I did.
Okay, great.
Yes. It was when Basterfield entered the mess hall, and every time I listen to Basterfield talk, I'm in awe. That's one of my favorite Nate voices. But reading off the assignments of all the troops, and of course, Troop B-84 getting our iconic recon mission. Very easy, right? Very fine. But we're all still pretty nervous.
I remember how simple and fun that seemed at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And I think we had been sufficiently scared because, as we covered in our prologue episode, we had made like 2 friends outside of our troop, and then both of them like went on their missions and didn't come back.
Right.
We just like got his like sword, and that was very concerning.
Mm-hmm.
So scary, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Also, something that wasn't in that video, but that happened during this episode was a specific conversation that was it Zarnis had with Kadal,
Mm-hmm.
where he said to remember who the true enemy is. Can you tell us
Mhm.
about that, Bo? Do you remember?
I remember him saying that, and I think as the season had gone on, I feel like Kadal continued being like, "Oh, so I just can't trust anyone anymore." So it was interesting because I noticed that Kadal that was like, I don't know, it was that discussion and then talking about Marlowe being a doppelganger. I think that Kadal's foundation being that the Order Under is like a safe haven, and they're everyone is just and right, and not having a lot of people in his life besides like Zarnis and a few of the officials, he just believed everything at face value. And that was kind of a moment that he was like, well, now I don't know what to believe. Why this is so everything's shady now. And everything he's told becomes like a bigger deal. And so it just noodles in his mind a little bit more. So every session we've had, he'd been like, I don't know. I don't know if this is okay or not. I don't know who to trust anymore. So that one little nugget really noodled in his head the whole season.
Wow, nice. Nate, can you think of anything that we're missing that was really important about episode 1?
Well, I also did not hear the actual recap, so I'm not really sure what was covered. But I mean, I think that's kind of the points or kind of the main things of just like, hey, you're in this troop and shit is dangerous, and instilling those seeds of doubt.
Great.
You did it.
Mm-hmm. And all of those names, Marlowe, Basterfield, all of those are kind of officers, people who have come in and out. But I think introducing you to Basterfield is probably one of the most important things, who is our Loxodon general. And I would say he's one of my favorite NPCs. He stays with us throughout the story.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And Zarnus, it's important to remember that he is kind of Kadal's surrogate father. Almost.
Yeah.
All right, should we move on to episode 2?
Episode 2.
All right. I believe we have a previously on video for episode 2, so let's watch that now.
Last time on StonesThrow, Cities Beneath. Kadal filled his friends in on the mysterious mission from Master Zarns, and the group brainstormed ways to figure out if Lieutenant Marlowe was secretly a doppelganger. Lacan put out his evening candle with a very expensive candle snuffer, and lent Cassia a night ascot. After a long rest, the troop was called to a debriefing for their first ever mission, but had to meet with Lieutenant Copperlight since Marlowe was sick. Copperlight instructed the troop to find an officer named Jawripper, who was currently undercover on a secret mission to recover 2 above artifacts. He bestowed upon them a wondrous gift, Skeeter the Sturge, who had a special mission of his own. Luna created a nest for him in her hair, and the group set out beyond the prefecture's wall for the first time in their lives. Nate rolled for hotness, and it was revealed that Troop B-84 was the most attractive troop in the entire military. And the coolest. Okay, maybe just the loudest. After enjoying the incredible new expanse of Underdark, B-84 encountered their toughest enemy yet. A rickety wooden bridge. One tale of beloved friends, a horde of rats, and a whole river full of razor-tooth quippers later, Troop B-84 crossed to the other side and said adieu to Skeeter. For now.
Bro. This episode was crazy.
It was really kind of our first real adventure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bo was just going, oh my God. What were you saying that to, Bo?
Just the fact that, well, firstly, it's absolutely crazy that our RO was rolled so low. That's wild to me.
It's a growth
And that
arc.
stuck
It's
with
a
me.
growth arc.
Yeah,
If you want to see
that
how
stuck
low,
with
you should
me.
look on social media. There's a good video of that.
Yeah. And the oh my God was the fact that it took an entire episode for us to cross a bridge. Absolutely insane. I think often, and I feel like this actually was such a great depiction of all 4 of us and our characters and our relationships, and how Luna and Kandal are like, we ball, and then how trepidatious Cassia is, and how Lacan just kind of is like the observer and knows best, but won't like really force anyone to listen to him. He's just like, I mean, fuck it and find out, you know. Walk around and find out. Go see. Good luck. It's stupid, but go for it. And we're like,
Love the
okay.
boss.
Yeah. It's hilarious, man.
Yeah, something interesting that I'm just realizing about Cassia was that when we first started training, all the spells that she was trying out were doing so well. Like she was just kicking ass in
Yeah.
training. And I think, feeling really jazzed about how powerful she didn't know she was. And then we had this run-in with bandits where she accidentally killed one of them. And I already see how she's nervous now. I mean, and then in the last episode, she also tried a spell. She's like, I'm powerful. I can do it. It's just General Basterfield. And she tried to go as fast as she could and it just fell on her head. So, she's definitely trying to decide how she wants to be using her magic. And in that episode, she was like, I think I want to use it to stand right here and to try to befriend a rat.
I do believe there was a moment when Luna and Kadal were halfway across the bridge, and Cassia turns to Lagan and goes, "So, like, fireball?" I'm like, "Where are we going with this?" But that's Cassia. Like, her brain works so beautifully, and she looks at these problems, and the way she solves them is, mwah, never change.
It's so funny. It's so funny because she has like such a library of skills, and she's like, I've got like, we're going to talk about the tunnel later, but like, don't worry, I have this. And we're like, what is that going to do right now? But you have so many skills. It's so great. And
Keep
like,
an eye on this character feature, Cassia. Sorry,
yeah, it's no, that's exactly. Oh my God. I love it. It's one of my favorite things about Cassie, actually.
Thank you.
That makes me realize if someone is watching this and they decide not to watch the prologue show, so they don't have any knowledge of who the characters are other than the titles underneath our faces, why don't we take just like a brief moment to introduce the characters as they were in the very beginning, the very basics. Like, for example, my character Luna is a drow with Myconid heritage, that being the specific homebrewed Underdarkling heritage background that Nate created. A drow with Myconid heritage, and she comes from the Glowwood, which is an area of the Underdark that nobody really knows what happens in because nobody who goes there ever returns, except for apparently Luna, but she can't remember it at all. So she's a little out of touch with social norms, very cute and very weird, and is a bard. Christina, what about Cassia, since we were just talking about her?
Yes, Cassia is a halfling wizard from the farmlands of Raynor.
What's her background?
Oh, she's Myconid as well, actually. So, but it's interesting how differently we both interpreted that, and I love it. I love that about our characters.
Who's next?
Me. My character is Kadal. He is a dragonborn with Kuatoa heritage, dragonborn monk. He grew up in the Order Under, so he's really familiar with that area. He didn't grow up with parents. He was, as we talked about, Zarnis. Zarnis sort of adopted him as his own, not necessarily like a father, but like family. And so everything he learned from him and just observing. And I think that's enough said.
Great.
And rounding out the group and usually bringing up the rear for strategic reasons is my human fighter, Lacan. He's got a Dwergar background, though, which is why you see, he's got the gray skin, the white hair, the longer ears. And that Dwergar background and that family ties and his human mother kind of all come into play in that they have also met a tragic end, and he, bearing from the upper crust of society, must eventually probably navigate that, but he'd rather not. He's just going to stay in the military and play with his friends and be really disappointed when everyone is really into these trinkets that his family was very much into and everyone is very much fighting about. But yeah.
You said friends.
I mean, the acquaintances in the troop. God, this is what 12 episodes have done to me.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue into our clip for episode 2, which is our first moment leaving the walls of the Order Under and venturing out into the Underdark. Let's check that out.
And you are sent off on your first mission, and for the first time are leaving the walls outside of Raynor.
There's like a moment, Kadal's taking a few steps, and then he like looks out, and it's this slow little rotation of him, and you can hear the I can go the distance horns from Hercules. He's like, yeah, yeah. And just goes, hey! Just to hear if it echoes or anything. Just hey into the distance.
Khan was listening so closely.
And at the same time, Cassia was actually having somewhat of a Sound of Music moment where she was kind of in her own world, just like, wow, this space is so amazing. I'm basically Julie Andrews on the top of the Alps. But
the hills are alive.
Kadal, you're not the only person who does that. After you do it, someone else like kind of copies you because they're like, whoa, that looks weird. Someone else calls out into the abyss of the Underdark. It almost like brings on this wave of like kind of hype. Like it's setting in with everyone that's just like, yo, we're out here.
Yeah, it's the first time. It's the first time any of us have been out here, right?
Yeah. Most of you, it's your first time for sure.
And we've known about this our whole lives.
Yeah. And then Kadal goes, can I get a oh yeah?
Just hearing that "Allo" from DreamHack.
All of the cadets fall silent.
And I go,
apparently you cannot.
Let's go.
Now, Luna.
Yes.
As you leave the city, you hear a voice whisper to you that lightly says, find him.
Did you guys hear that?
You are still somewhat surrounded by dozens of other cadets.
That was Kadal.
Yeah, sorry, I got caught up in the moment.
Oh, find who, Kadal?
Hmm?
You said find him. Find who?
No, I just said, hey.
Who? So that was our first expedition out, and also the first time that Luna heard voices that she didn't understand.
Aww. Baby's first voice in her head.
I know, so cute. And it is amazing how many times Luna heard voices in her head and communicated about that, and nobody took her seriously at all.
It was great movie foreshadowing, like everyone's like, yo, there's crazy stuff happening. But like in real life, we're all like, oh yeah, Kadal's yelling, Luna's, we're just gonna go.
Yep. And Nate was planting seeds even then. It's wild as I was going through all these clips, the amount of times he had told us what was going to happen when I didn't understand at all. Nate, what was important about that scene for you?
Which one?
Leaving the walls.
Luna
hearing voices, sending us.
I think it was really trying to sink in how big this place is, because being in Raynor the entire time, you're kind of in this sense of comfort that's similar to what like above board you'd expect from anywhere. It's like, this is like just like there's like, you don't know what the sky is, but like there's something that would give the same feeling and just kind of, I don't know, simulate that in the same sense, to where you're thrown out into this like, this is just like, it's a massive place versus like an infinite place, if that makes sense.
What were we to retrieve at that point?
What do you mean?
What was because we left to go on our mission. I know we were supposed to find out if Marla was a doppelganger, but we also, Christina, I call on you.
It's I believe we thought there was an above artifact in the inn.
At the inn.
Right.
Yeah.
At the inn. That's right.
Which there was.
Yeah. And we were sent to find Jaw Ripper. Which,
Mhm.
as we were watching that recap, I remembered how jarring that name was the first time I heard it. And now it's just become one of those things that's like
Beloved.
Smith. Like, it's just a name.
Yeah,
You
true.
know,
Yeah. Nate, a question that I had actually that a couple people in chat have also said,
Hmm.
that voice in Luna's head, at that point wasn't presented with like any accent or anything like that. Was there meant to be any characterization of that voice, or was it meant to be like an impression that she got? Because people are trying to figure out who that voice was, and they have ideas based on what the voice might sound like. See? Yeah. Great. Okay. Awesome.
Crazy.
that usually means you're onto something, though. So hold
Yeah.
on to that end of that thread.
Definitely a voice, definitely in her head.
Yep. Yep. So after that, all we did that episode was cross a bridge, or not cross a bridge, or fall into the water under a bridge.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, there was supposed to be more in that episode too, but it just took that long to get across the bridge.
No, what did we learn? That was one of the episodes I feel like where you and I, if Bo and I being like brand new players, I feel like we both were learning there's no supposed to.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fair. We were prepared for more.
Yeah.
Nate was prepared for more.
That was also where we had the first tale of the beloved friends,
Yeah, dude.
which was
Aw.
Luna's special circle of spirits thing, or not circle, school of spirit, whatever her. I should know my character. Something something bard
It's
spirits.
some bard stuff.
Something
Yeah.
really special for us.
Some BS, some bard stuff.
It's
All
been
right.
such a clutch spell, though, ongoing. So another thing to watch out for this season.
Yes, yes. All right. Let's move on to episode 3. We have a previously on video. Let's watch the recap from episode 3.
Last time on StonesThrow, Cities Beneath.
Following Lieutenant Copperlight's map, Troop B-84 found themselves in an underground cave. They discovered a rock that was cold, smooth, round, and actually an egg? Despite knowing that the egg's chilliness probably meant it belonged to an insect, Luna baby Bjorned it up for easy carrying. A new friend. The group continued their journey through tunnels and caves until suddenly they were ambushed by 3 giant spiders, who could all name Tom, Andrew, and Toby for some reason. The battle was relentless, and soon Cassia was bitten, poisoned, and killed, marking Troop B-84's first brush with death. While Lacan and Kadal fought the spiders with sword and strength, Luna healed Cassia with magic. When only one Luna approached it empathetically, holding the egg out and asking, "Is this yours?" The spider was, quite frankly, a dick about it, and dealt a lethal bite to Luna. Troop B-84 realized they all needed to read up on healing spells, and lamented their fallen friend. They finished off the last spider, and Lacan revealed his secret talent. He was a world-class chef. His food proved so delicious that it restored Luna's life force and enabled the troop to finish their long march through the caves. Several days later, Troop B-84 reached their destination and found the surprisingly hot Lieutenant Jawripper, who had been undercover in a thieves' guild, hiding 2 above artifacts. She warned the group that infiltrating their hiding spot would be very dangerous, and she would not be able to blow her cover by helping them. She encouraged everyone to rest, and the team quickly fell asleep. The mostly nocturnal Luna saw a hooded stranger walking through the area and invited him to share their fire. Even though he gave pretty solid advice about being yourself, he also tried to read Luna's mind and alluded to traveling places beyond the Underdark. Luna got a glimpse of his rotted skeletal face, but was unbothered. That was until he paralyzed her and took off into the night. Oh.
That very last little bit is actually what our clip will be of. So we can save the mysterious stranger till the very end But man, that spider egg, I really thought that was gonna be something. I'm sure did carry that the whole season.
Still could be.
Yeah.
It will be. It will be something. One thing or another.
We get hungry enough, it'll be dinner.
Oh shit.
I wonder what a giant spider egg would taste like. I wonder if that's something Lacan could cook.
It's just like a lot of boba.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah, that was such a like an amazing discovery of Lacan. Like we really were like, wow, we're all gonna die from spider bites because we both, Luna and Cassia, both died. And it turned out that Luna was the only one who knew how to do healing. So you can't die when you're the only one.
Whoops.
Yeah, that might have been a secret he was withholding until fear of death brought it out of him. So he's like, all right, if it's live or die, you can know that I cook good.
You know my secret.
Please live, eat this, don't talk to me about it.
I realized because we had the recap videos, we didn't title those 2 episodes. Episode 2 was called The March, and episode 3 is He Said He Had a Story. But yeah, we fought spiders. I feel like, Christina, you have a lot of feelings about those spiders.
Yeah, again, with Cassia just figuring out where she stands, I think going from feeling pretty invincible to then being like, I don't know if invincible is actually morally right for me, to being like, now I'm getting killed is a whiplash. And I think in that, I remember that was a time I tried invisibility for the first time. And it was like such a big deal. Like I made Kadal invisible.
That was
And we were
awesome.
just so excited about it. And then I immediately got like stabbed through the face with like and poisoned. So yeah, now Cassia is definitely afraid of spiders and very wary. Cannot trust. Not too fond of that spider egg. No offense.
Nate, did the spider fight go as you expected? I feel like I remember you saying something about like being surprised by either that we had like a harder time with it than you thought or something.
I think that was, you know what? I don't remember.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
We've come so far.
I remember that I feel like before all of this, we were rolling pretty well and our fights went really well. And this spider fight was the moment that I was like, we just started the show. We can't die here. And then like Kadal seeing like bonding with his friend, having these new friends and being so excited and seeing them get murked the way they did was so crazy. I feel like poor Kadal, man. Like obviously poor you guys too. You all had your things, but Kadal, he was like so excited and so trusting of like what he believed, and everything just keeps proving him wrong and leaving him like, oh, so that's not what I believed. Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Ain't that like though?
So what was the shattering illusion here, that we were going to be good at fighting together?
Yes. That none of us would die from spiders. And like the first thing, I was like so confident. I'm like, follow me. I walked into the spider web, and then I think it was Luna the first one to, or was it Cassia that
I think
got
Cassia went down first, right?
Cassia went down first after that dope spell. I was like, oh, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
Chad Magic in chat has a really good point. Yeah, you all nearly died, but I had to witness it.
Yeah,
I'm
I do.
sorry
We're
to
sorry
you
for that,
guys,
Chad.
all of you.
You
Yeah.
didn't need that.
Really, I just like laid down and took like kind of a nap.
It's true.
We also met Lieutenant Jaw Ripper,
Yeah.
who we were very excited about. Became someone we were planning on that being someone who became very important to us. We'll learn more about her as we move into the next episode. And then yeah, Luna only trances for 4 hours a night instead of sleeping 8 hours like everyone else. So often she tends to wake up in the middle of the night and have surprises waiting for her. One such surprise is coming up in our next video, which is a clip from episode 3, where a stranger is sitting by the fire in the middle of the night. Let's watch.
You see somebody in some kind of cloak, some kind of hood. Their back is towards the tent. They're facing towards the fire. And as you walk out to investigate the fire, you see that their posture kind of turns a little bit towards you, but they don't fully face you. As he says, "Pardon the intrusion, young one. Might an old man stare into the fire for a minute?"
An old man might. I don't know. Why do you ask?
Oh, these bones don't keep as warm as they used to.
I'll kind of walk around the fire to look at his face if I can.
You sit across the fire. It's kind of an oversized hood. And he's very much facing down and just like he's very much draped in this clothing. Seems really bundled up and really enjoying the warmth.
What's your name?
My name. Oh, it's been such a long time since anyone's asked me. I'm not sure if I remember. Began with perhaps it was Jonathan or Josiah? Jemrith.
What sounds do you like? I can just call you those sounds.
Oh, what a kind offer. Maybe you have an idea. It was something in that realm of sound.
How about Jar Jar?
Jar Jar. I like that. Jar Jar it is.
Okay.
Well, as I always say anyway, if it's been forgotten, then perhaps it wasn't worth remembering.
I don't know. I've forgotten a lot of stuff that I hope is worth remembering.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thanks.
Why have you forgotten?
I don't know. If I could remember, then I wouldn't have forgotten.
Says, well, take it from me then. Some of us grow stronger and thrive more once we've been forgotten. As he sort of barely looks up from his hood, you get the first glimpse of like the bottom third of his face. As you see very, very pale, dry, gray skin barely hanging on to his bones. As you see these long, decayed strands of flesh hanging off of an eerie yellow grin.
Well, what are you gonna do next?
Oh, I enjoy currently. I've been liking these long walks here in the Underdark. It's such an intriguing place. Once you think you've seen it all, the next surprise crawls out of its hole to greet you.
Well, it's an intriguing place because it's the only place.
You see that eerie grin kind of sneer a little harder. He says, "So it is."
So it is. And we actually have some amazing fan art here. Right after that scene, Jar Jar, or so he is named, tries to read Luna's mind. And there's no indication of why he did that or what he learned. And then when she tries to beg him to tell her what is his deal and gets right up in his face begging, please, 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 he boops her on the nose and paralyzes her. And then she's paralyzed the rest of the night until her friends wake up. And then he just leaves. So that's the infamous Jar Jar boop right there by Honor.
Jar Jar boobs.
And then Luna goes on to tell us what a cool guy she met. And we're like, Luna, you've been standing paralyzed for 5 hours. No, cool guy.
He also knew what the glowwood was, and he talked a lot about like places outside of the Underdark. So for Luna, as someone who's like, what is my identity? Where am I from? I'm dying for any information about why I seem to be this anomaly. That was very exciting. And then he just disappeared without telling her anything, which I think if there's anything that has become the biggest frustration for Luna over this season is that she feels like nobody ever says what they mean or tells her anything. And here's where it began.
So all the red flags you just thought were quest markers.
Wow. That's a t-shirt we need to make. All right. Anything else that we've forgotten about this episode 3 before we move on to 4?
I think just that, I mean, just going back to Jaw Ripper real quick, that we had a pretty good plan. Because I remember that was very comforting to Cassia, that there was this really good plan, because then she went in her spell book and made all these changes, because we thought that we were going to go to the inn and try to steal the above artifact, and it might involve a fight, and it might involve having to trick some people.
Yeah.
And that seemed like a pretty good plan. Very doable.
I was gonna say the same thing about Jaw Ripper. It was like nice to have someone that had their head on straight and their composure about this whole thing, and was like mommy.
An adult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
an adult.
really
Yeah.
like sanctuary. Like we got to Jaw Ripper, and I feel like we're all like, oh, phew, okay, safety.
Yeah, yeah.
And Nate doesn't like it when we feel safe, happy, or satisfied. So you can guess how that went.
I think during this episode, when you say the plan, I think we had made the plan that we were going to stage a whole like scene where someone had thrown up in the lobby of this inn in
Very
order to get
barf-centric
Barf 84.
strategy.
Team
We
Barf
were going
84.
to use our magic for.
Mhm. Yeah, we were gonna, that was how we were gonna distract them and get
Dude, we were locked in. We felt good about that plan.
Yeah.
It's a good plan.
Let's see how that plan went as we move into episode 4. And let's watch the recap now.
Last time on StonesThrow, Cities Beneath.
Luna woke up her friends to tell them about the mysterious Jar Jar, who had long since disappeared into the night. Troop B-84 then set their sights on the next part of their mission, infiltrating the inn to find the Thief Guild's hiding spot. They decided on a fairly classic militaristic plan: distract the inn's receptionist with magic vomit, cast a suggestion spell, and grab the above artifacts without putting Lieutenant Jaw Ripper in danger. Feeling nervous but prepared, Troop B-84 set off on the last leg of their journey down a seemingly empty road. Suddenly, a carriage approached, steered by a silvery man with a strange blue light glowing between his joints. Even though the troops skedaddled out of sight, the man called out to them in his terrifying southern drawl. Cadal faced him alone at first, insisting he was all by himself in the woods, having a private roadside bathroom moment. The metallic man wasn't fooled and fired a warning shot at the rest of the group, forcing them out of hiding and insisting they explain why they were traveling on this road. Luna, unafraid and incensed by the man's lack of manners, tried to win him over, offering him a name: Indigo. Though he accepted the name, Indigo didn't accept the olive branch, threatening to punish the group if they didn't fess up to their plans. Cassia blurted out that they were very successful pumpkin dealers on their way to the inn, hoping to score a deal selling their surplus to businesses outside the collective. Indigo didn't seem to buy the story, but he backed off, letting the very successful pumpkin dealers be on their way. That was until Kadal noticed that there was someone being held hostage in the back of Indigo's carriage. Lieutenant Jawripper. Springing into action, Luna stopped the carriage with a powerful earth tremor spell. Lacan got to Jawripper, rescuing her from the carriage, and saw she was under the influence of something and couldn't move well on her own. Cassia shot a flammable web, and Kadal judo chopped Indigo's lackeys. Indigo revealed that he was a bounty hunter, and he would get paid whether he brought Jawripper to his destination dead or alive. Lacan, armed with his crossbow, made a brave stand against Indigo, saying, "We'll pay double." That's a terrible Lacan impression. "We'll pay double," but realized too late that the man's metal body prevented him from piercing damage. Kadal hoisted Jawripper over his shoulder in an attempt to escape, but Indigo shot and killed her before they could get away. Luna attempted a healing spell, but Jawripper couldn't be saved. Troop B-84 retreated, haunted by all that had unfolded.
Oh, this was a landmark episode for so many reasons. Our clip is called Goodbye Jawripper, so we may want to save part of that discussion for after we watch the clip. I think, first of all, the title of that episode was Go Get Your Gun. And I want to start by talking about our impressions when we first saw Indigo. What were the characters thinking? Do you remember?
I can remember what I was thinking above board, which is like, what are we like, we can't beat this now. Clearly, there's nothing we can do about this now. So what are we supposed to learn from this situation about like end game kind of stuff? Because he seemed, with the moment we engaged him, I was like, oh, I've killed one of us.
I do remember Nate mentioned how that encounter could have gone so many different ways that like we could have just not noticed that Jawripper was there and never learned of that. We could have seen but not engaged and maybe not had to fight. We could have all died. Like, there
Yeah.
was a lot of options there, and I as far as Luna, I think there's definitely like a no one left behind kind of feeling to her. So I think once she saw Jawripper was there was no question of just like backing down, even though I also had the sense of like, there's nothing we can do here, but we
Yeah.
can.
This one was especially interesting. I've talked about this a little bit to some of you individually, but yeah, that them going away in that carriage, that was probably what might be one of the biggest like forks, like different ways it could have gone, because there were scenarios where you don't see that Jawripper was even in there. There are scenarios where you just see it and be like, well, there's nothing we can do about that. That's above our pay grade. So this was definitely a like huge decision is kind of in your hands, and that is gonna determine a lot of the course for how the next few sessions go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like what I was saying. Like we had a plan.
Yeah, I remember feeling really intimidated by Indigo, but I think similarly um to Luna, Kadal's like these are my comrades, and um and so they're my priority. And specifically with Jawripper, Kadal grew up knowing of Jawripper, and he grew up in a house of his heroes. So I think that the that was already like stoking his fire. But when she died, I think that like really affected him throughout the rest of the season, and how he felt about Indigo and all the things related to him. So And I think it like was the final as we've been exploring and him realizing, okay, I can't trust things or things don't go as they're as I expect them to go. This was kind of like the final thing where it's like I can't beat this guy. Someone I look up to is dead. Everything's out of control now, and I'm completely powerless. And I think that was kind of like a reality check for him.
While we're talking about that, wasn't that the first time you used your breath weapon as well?
Yeah, that was I yes, which must have like just thinking about how all these emotions um triggered that. For anyone that doesn't know, Kadal has this thing where if his emotions get too heightened in any way, he starts to flicker under his scales. And at that point, the flickering came out as his breath weapon. And that was the first time he ever used it. So
Right.
interesting. Sorry.
Do you want to explain? I guess the effects of that are seen in the next episode, so you don't have
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
further with that right now.
Yeah. It's so interesting to like look back on these episodes too and understand how like learning more about Kadal and how things were leading to these moments. And um, it's not stuff that like you guys have talked about this before. It's not stuff that you plan. It just kind of ends up happening. And it's interesting to see that in my own character now.
Mm-hmm. I also think that this fight was the first time I felt like we were really killing it. Like the synergy between all of our strengths. I mean, Cassia turned the carriage into this like pyre of
Yeah.
like warfare, and it was incredible against anything that could be vanquished.
Yeah.
It would have been. But that was what was so just heartbreaking and spirit killing about this is like we were doing a great job. Like
Yeah.
we did so many good things in that fight and none of them mattered.
You're so right. It was like the synergy was crazy. Like Kadal noticing Jaw Ripper going, Luna, Jaw Ripper, Earth Tremor, and then we just like pounced on them. Kadal caught a freaking bullet and threw it back. We were rolling high.
Like,
We
yeah,
were rolling
crazy.
high.
Yeah.
I remember like Lacan went into the carriage. Is that when we learned about what a hold was? I think we learned like hold action.
Hold action.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like, I have to hold it until I like get Jaw Ripper out. Because we were just that was math.
Yeah, we were thinking deep in strategic thoughts that fight. And
Very-
I like it was kind of actually unbelievable what everybody pulled out because I think Luna had the kind of like obviously not the killing blow because we went on to run into Indigo
Away.
again, but hit him with the fissure that kind of made it impossible to come back from, right?
So crazy too, because literally, I don't know, I am at as Kadal, there was this guilt because he was just really curious, like, oh, I'll go ahead and see, and like tiptoeing around and then getting us caught, and then just kept digging ourselves in a hole, I was digging us into a hole. And so there was just like so much guilt. And it was like, this could have been stopped if we were just like, we're just going to the inn. Like Nate says, there was just so many alternative ways of this going. And we ended up, how I felt, kind of the worst.
Chat is. I just want to shout out the strategy of Cassia igniting the web is extremely popular, and if we're picking out themes to go on here, Cassia becomes like battle MVP episode over episode. So
Yeah.
Thank
I know,
you, but
our squishy wizard is actually the only one who can get anything done.
True.
no,
Yeah.
that was part of the thing. Was I very new. I was researching spells, and I was like, the most perfect spell for being inside of a room, inside of an inn, would be a web, because then I can just push all the little bandits into the web, and then they'll be stuck, and then we just pick their pockets and leave. And like it ended up having to be like the fires of hell.
So on brand that you would come up with a web to pick someone's pockets too, Cassia,
And tickle them. Bye.
and take their things.
Yeah.
Scaling's not wrong. It's just acquisition.
Repurposing.
It's our job.
I want Nate to talk about whatever he's willing to tell us about what was going through Indigo's mind or what surprised Indigo or even maybe under the hood some of the things that happened that made these things come about, but I want to watch the clip from episode 4, which is called Goodbye Jaw Ripper. So let's roll that.
Indigo. See something here.
I'm nervous.
You see he takes aim once again. And you see the glow within him, between his joints and in his eyes, brightens up for a brief second. Yeah.
I don't feel good.
As
Yeah,
he
that
says,
exhale didn't sound good.
as he says, sorry, as he says, I warned y'all, what's mine is mine. As he fires at Jaw Ripper.
Oh!
Kadal, you're holding Jaw Ripper, right?
Yeah. And they're in my arms. Can I use my tail? Just tail
You
whip?
feel the full weight of Jaw Ripper push onto you as her body goes limp. And he says, I'm gonna let you drop her right there. And because I'm feeling generous, I'll give you one chance to walk away. Otherwise, I'm gonna have a much bigger haul to move around. He says, what's it gonna be, boy? That's his whole turn. He doesn't do anything else.
Oh no.
Kadal. Is it Kadal's turn?
It is
This
now
sucks.
Kadal's turn.
I hate that it's my turn because I know what I want to do, but I know what Kadal wants to do.
Oh.
So Kadal is going to try to unarmed strike him. He's gonna do flurry of blows.
Okay.
It's
You-
20.
That's a 20 to hit.
Yeah.
Flurry of blows. I'm just looking at it.
It's bludgeoning.
Kadal, you're blinded with rage at this challenge, and yeah, you start just pummeling straight into him, and it feels like you are just punching solid steel as you just
Yeah. Yeah. I almost imagine he's like on all four, like he's pouncing on the dude and on Indigo and like scratching and just clobbering at him. But it's tink 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 tink.
and then he looks at you and says, he puts his hands in his pocket. He says, now tuck tail and run home, boy.
He's like he's flickering and he's crying and he's like running out of energy, like hitting Indigo, and then he just stops and looks back at everyone's leaving, or everyone's standing there waiting for me.
I think we're all standing there kind of like watching you with pity and horror and like being stuck.
Yeah.
Because we won't leave you, but we all don't think we have a chance.
Okay. So he finally, Kadal like slams his fist on his head, on Indigo's head, and then just like is done and then just puts his head down because he's like all of his energy's gone now. He has Step of the Wind as a bonus action, which would be dash.
Okay.
Can he run to his troop?
Absolutely.
Thank God, he's got to do that. He's going to do that.
First I want to hear, Bo, your thoughts after watching that.
Dude, I remember being emotional and being like I remember genuinely being overcome with emotion from the visualization of Jaw Ripper going limp in my arms and feeling the defeat. You can tell how like I'm like, okay, well, this is happening because I've just lost my mind. And um above board, I genuinely like felt very emotional. And it I don't know, man. That was the first moment I've talked about a lot where in my head I know this is how I should be playing the game, but doing what's like what the right move is versus what the true decision is for my character. This was the deciding factor of that, or this was the moment where I came to that realization where there's the how I would want to play it and how I think Kadal would truly act. And I don't know, man. I'm running my mouth because I'm flustered rewatching it. It
I
was just
think that
crazy.
that moment kind of changed Kadal a little bit, would you say?
I think it was the last straw. Like we were talking about before, he just has been experiencing a lot of doubt and um the way that he perceived everything had been changed and then finally having this experience and feeling completely helpless and throwing my strongest attacks at him and nothing's affecting this person and I've permanently lost somebody. Um completely changed I would argue it changed his personality throughout the show, throughout the
I felt a
campaign.
change.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Christina, did you have something to add, or are you just emotionally affected?
No, I'm emotionally, I mean, just the idea of, yeah, like that you had to put her down. Ugh.
Yeah.
The imagery of him you no one could hear this, but like the imagery of him putting his hands in his pockets made me just like, ugh.
Yeah.
It just felt terrible because Kadal is trying his best. We're surrounded by flames. He's wailing on Indigo, who's literally just casually sitting there like just some chill guy and trying to avenge his fallen companion, fallen comrade, and then looking back at the other three of the troop and how just like dumbfounded they are, like out of pity, like they said, feeling that heartbreak for him and how he feels like this is his fault. Like just that imagery and how it felt for me as Bo and then as Kadal was just so heavy and it's just it feels bad, man.
I specifically remember the feeling when he's like, "What's it gonna be, boy?"
Mm.
Like that you were so angry and so helpless was like I tensed up from that part. But that's why, Nate, I wanted to ask you if there's anything
Mhm.
you want to share from Indigo's perspective of that fight or that moment or, anything that surprised you or anything like that.
I know that a couple of y'all have asked me if that death was planned preemptively. No, that was his call. That was one of those like the moment and the character made the decision. I did not. It was one of those like I sat back and I was just like, oh shit, he's gonna just fucking murk her then because he's frustrated and it doesn't matter to him. And he's like, well, if they're trying to save her and she can't be saved, then done deal, easy peasy. And that sucked.
Mm.
I think that was actually in the clip too. There was this moment where you kind of were like, and all of us were like, uh-oh, no, 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 no.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah. And Rip Jaw Ripper, we loved her already, and we loved
Mhm.
her briefly, and we loved her well.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna be like, I was like, man, this character is gonna be like fun to do stuff with, and then he had other plans.
Yep.
So crazy. It's so crazy feeling that still after rewatching that.
Blech.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to get through, so goodbye, Jaw Ripper. Let's move on to episode 5. This one we have lovingly referred to as the bandit fight episode, but the actual title is The Trap Door. Let's watch the summary of that episode. Last time on StonesThrow Cities Beneath.
Reeling from their encounter with the terrifying Indigo and the unexpected death of Lieutenant Jaw Ripper, Troop B-84 decided to forge on with their mission and make their way to the inn where the Thieves Guild was hiding. Upon arrival, Project Troop Barf 84 worked shockingly well. Luna's vomitous theatrics sent the inn's receptionist scurrying outside, giving the group the opportunity to search for clues about where the thieves could be hiding. Lacan found a riddle, Luna found a box, and Kadal found himself feeling weaker and weaker as he suffered a mysterious malady resulting from their fight with Indigo. Since he wouldn't just tell his friends what was going on, the group had to practically force him to eat some of Lacan's magical treats. Luna tried opening the box, but it sensed her intentions and spat acid, melting most of the key inside. Cassia's height proved useful when she found a hidden switch under the receptionist's desk, revealing a trap door. One filthy, nasty, obscenely dirty 20 roll later, Luna used the tiny sliver of key that wasn't destroyed to open the lock, and Troop B-84 crept into the underbelly of the inn, where they found doors. So many doors, leading to so many rooms, full of nothing. Until Kadal found a room full of bandits. Cassia couldn't get through the door, Luna crossbowed from between Kadal's legs, Lacan, stuck in another room, tried to kick his way through the adjoining wall, Kool-Aid Man style. Kadal had what can only be described as a sexy grappling experience. No offense, guys, but this fight was pretty off the rails. Luckily, one of the bandits was open to a truce and convinced his buddies to surrender. Troop B-84, exhausted but unharmed, thought it was time to ask these bandits some questions.
So we will have a clip of said bandit fight with two of what I think have become some of the most iconic moments, memes, decisions in the show, that being the wall and the bandit grapple. But before we get to that, this is where we kind of got to see a peek behind the curtain into the breath weapon stuff. Bo, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so story short, this is this ability exhausts Kadal. That was his first time using it, and every time he uses it, and Nate can chime in if he wants because he knows the right vernacular for it, but every time he uses it, he starts getting fatigued. And it kind of is a double-edged sword where it's his most powerful ability, but it also will start to damage him. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so. You're the one who knows.
I'm the one who know. It was actually fun. It was fun coming up with this because I don't know, being Kuatoa and Dragonborn, dragons having that lightning ability, I had this idea of like it'd be really cool if like his strongest ability also was his biggest weakness, and that myth was debunked because people know D&D more than me. But I liked that mechanic because I think it just gave more mortality and more of a debuff to Kadal and just a little bit more dynamic to his character.
And it was really like we were all like, "What is wrong with you?" And he was like, "Nothing, nothing."
I'm fine. Leave me out. Stop asking.
I couldn't decide if the information lay with the DM or with Kadal.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Are you sick? Is he sick? Do I roll? Do I ask you?"
It was so funny too. This episode, by the way, just was my favorite for so many reasons. It was so much fun and so stupid.
Mhm.
But while the show was going, while we were playing, I messaged Nate and was like, "Hey, can I be debuffed from that? Like, can I have some sort of illness?" And he's like, "I guess." And then I was
Yeah.
like, "Can I get like hella nerfed during this fight because like I want to be bad at fighting because I'm so fatigued from that breath weapon. I didn't even need to ask Nate. I was like, "Oh, don't worry, we're doing terribly." So it just is canon.
But it was cool because that initial conversation led to like initially it came as you role playing like, oh, he's not feeling so good. And I said, hey, let's actually like lock this down with mechanics. So we
Yeah.
actually made a just a homebrewed feat, not a feat, trait for it. So it's got its own stuff, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's like really, really powerful. I won't go into the mechanics because that's not my info to share. That's for the player, for the character. So totally up to you. But yeah, there's yeah, it allows you to do some stuff that normally you shouldn't be able to do, but then there's consequences.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really excited to explore that in season 2 because I feel like there weren't a lot of opportunities for it to happen because he did it once. He's like, oh, I'm not gonna freaking do that again. It's like eating mushrooms for the first time. You're like, well, that was terrible. So just me? Okay. So I think season 2 is gonna be really exciting for Cadal's character overall, but learning more about his abilities.
We have so many episodes to get to, and I don't want to make this whole recap too long, but I do want to just give a shout out to when we got to the inn, we had that whole vomit plan. Did it work? That's for you to decide. But it ended up being a really, really cool escape room style puzzle that Nate had made for us that we just barely were able to figure out. Like very, very
On
barely.
accident.
Yeah. And we were so close. But we did end up figuring that out. We found a trap door. We managed to like lock the person who was watching the inn outside to give us some time. And we went into the cellar where we found some bandits. And both Lacan and Cadal made iconic decisions. Let's watch that.
Everyone's still crowded around the doorway in B. Is there a way in there?
Still crowded around.
Okay, separate question. The walls.
Yep.
What are they made of?
Wood.
Like old wood?
It's
All
pretty.
right.
It's pretty shabby down here.
If I can't fit into B, can I go into E and try and kick my way into B?
You can certainly try.
I will
your way.
certainly try.
Can I get an athletics check?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm gonna finally use that guidance
Nice.
because I rolled a 6. I don't even think guidance can save me here.
Oh.
I'm gonna save that guidance and just eat my humiliation because I'm alone and no one else is in room E and no one saw me do this, right?
It was your practice kick. It was your practice.
I was a warm-up. I was just, you can do that swing in golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like, so you take a hard kick at the wall. This is the first one. You're not even really sure how strong this thing
Feeling
is.
it out.
You feel like it's got like maybe a little give. Like this might be possible.
In certain points, junctures, nails, are their weaknesses, or
Just old wood.
okay.
Just
Noted.
if you
Like-
can better.
That's what the test kick was for the information
Yeah,
gathering.
exactly. You're scouting.
Bro.
Lacan.
Big
All right, so for the very first time, I'm going to put my full effort to breaking through this wall to enter
Okay.
combat. So, like, what would be like a theoretical threshold that I would need to clear for this to be successful?
I don't know. What'd you roll?
Well, I rolled a 7.
Okay.
Which weakens it. All right, we're gonna action surge. No one's seeing this. Okay, we got a 10.
Use
boss.
the guidance.
And we got guidance on lock if we need it.
10 for athletics, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You still you feel it give a little bit as you kind of heave into it.
Even
But
if
no-
it's actually 14.
A 14, you feel a couple of the planks of wood break. and you feel like a couple more of these, you might be able to break through the wall of a building, which is what you were trying to do.
As a homeowner, I gotta say, they're making the buildings a weaker shit these days.
I love when the DM has the opportunity to add, because that is what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But
Okay.
also, yeah, you said I broke it a little bit. Like they're on the other side. Is that distracting to the people in the fight?
I'm sure it's gotten their attention.
Cool, that's cool. It's part of what I'm doing here.
Yeah, for sure.
I would like to step away from the door, please.
Good
You
idea.
would provoke an attack of opportunity.
I would like to grapple the bandit nearest me and pull him away from the door into
Okay.
another place.
Athletics round 2.
Please.
You're fair better than me, brother.
23!
Oh,
Nice. Oh wow,
Proud
yeah,
of you.
he can't beat that. All right, so you get up, you
Yeah.
grab him, and you can more or less just like walk him out.
For real, I'm like, get over here.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna, I'm holding him by door D now.
All right, Lacan. It is worth noting that with Bandit 3 grappled, you would have advantage on attacks.
Yes.
But please.
My fact-finding mission a grand success. Lacan, hearing the grappling in the hallway, is
Yes.
going to now rush out to assist Kadal.
Yes, you think this plan was a good plan.
Mhm.
However,
Excellent plan.
we
an
pivot.
alternate plan has presented itself.
You know, and it's really the pivot that separates
It was.
the good from the great.
Exactly. As that brings us to Bandit is gonna try and break this grapple. Another athletics check, Kadal.
It's a 10.
Okay. Six.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
We're both getting tired, man.
Yeah.
Maybe you're slowly falling in love.
Yeah. Like, I haven't felt an embrace like this.
Feels so safe.
This feeling.
Oh, you're holding me so tight.
The bandit's like, you too?
You meet eyes and there's like a soft focus.
Like a,
Yeah.
Lacan is 7 inches away, just like with the rope.
Do you have anything to say, Rachel?
Well, first of all, that'll teach me to just not review the edits before they go live on the live show. I was like, Anna's got this. Surely this one isn't just a montage of me kicking a wall. Oh no. Yeah. No, it was it's harder to live through every time I watch it. Yeah.
Are you kidding? That was one of the most comedically genius moments in the show.
This was the best, dude, guys. This was one of the best episodes. We were in our bag. We were in our bag.
I can see everything we do so clearly as like panels in a comic strip as we make these choices.
Yeah.
just that fast pan over the page, Ken Burns style, to look on alone in the room, just oh, and the eye contact with Kadal and the grapple. Kadal, like
He didn't know he could feel like that. He didn't know he could feel like that. And he's coping right now.
And
There's a
that's-
lot happening.
That was Cassia discovering something like that. It comes out later that she's really into romance novels and like has all kinds of ships.
Yeah,
but like at that
romance
time,
novels.
I thought she was just like book smart, but I think she's actually just been secretly reading a lot of romantasy. She's just so excited for everyone to fall in love.
Oh my
actually.
God. That was just such a funny scene. One of my favorites too in that moment was the fact that we were all just like in a ball tripping and falling over each other in that doorway, and no one had decided to move away from that doorway. We just kept fighting and trying to
there
get
was
closer to that
an
room.
attack of opportunity. We couldn't handle just like one attack.
We should have just taken it.
We couldn't do it.
Oh my God. It was so good.
Nate, is there anything you want to say about that episode? I mean, we've said a lot of it for you.
Yeah, maybe not the
Yeah.
part about how bad we did.
It was just so, I mean, on top of like, well, you doing bad is just dice rolling low. But it was both ways, because it was also the bandits that just could not roll to hit anyone. So it was just, and this happens in D&D, and like the only thing that makes it like not frustrating, but made me like much more wary of it, was that when you're just a regular like play game, like offline, it's like, yeah, if one fight needs to take 4 hours because stuff's being dumb, then sure, why not? When you're under the constraint of just like, okay, there's also like people watching, and at a certain point, this is like a little too repetitive. I was just like, okay, we got to move this along. No one's going to win. This is just going to go on forever. Something else needs to happen. But I was like, I asked Anna after, I'm just like, was that fun? Because and it's like, yeah, it was fun. That was sometimes I'm like, okay, because like it's not that I wasn't having fun, but I was like, man, it's been like 2 hours and nothing's happened.
Yeah.
So
No.
Bo's favorite episode, hands down.
It was so people were telling me like, dude, this episode was so funny. I'm like, I know if this is what the rest of the series is like, I'm locked in, man. It felt like we were the Guardians of the Galaxy, in the beginning, where they're trying to like chase after each other. That's what that felt like. We're just doing a bad job. Everyone's just doing a bad job.
And I should also note, though, that part of it was that we didn't have any spell slots left because hadn't been able to take a long rest since Indigo. So we
That's true.
all fought real hard. And then I think we were all about to go in the inn, and we're like, so, like, maybe we take a nap outside the inn. And he was like, I don't think you can do that. And we're like, what if we get a room at the inn? Maybe we'll just take a nap in there. Just like, wasn't happening. Anti-nap.
No, just us and the bandits just flailing for 2 hours. Like that
So
was one of our
funny, dude.
longest episodes too.
So funny.
It's so good.
All right. Highly recommend going back and watching that one if you just want specifically a flavor for like the hijinks of the crew. I think that's a great one to look at. But
Four Stooges.
we're moving on now to episode 6, which is called Deny It All. That will take us out of the bandit cellar. And to where? Let's find out. Let's watch the recap.
previously on, what the hell is it called? StonesThrow. Nah, that's the one. Yes.
After an unsuccessful attempt at becoming best friends with their captured bandit, Troop B-84 crawled through the secret tunnel until they quite literally could crawl no more. They returned to base, reporting Jaw Ripper's death to an empathetic General Reginald Basterfield, 69th of his name. Having completed their first mission, the troop was given the choice: leave the military and go home, or re-enlist and stay on as cadets. Realizing the mysteries of all they'd experienced would never let them lead normal lives, Lacan, Luna, Kadal, and Cassia all decided to stay, using their military status to follow more leads. Their very much deserved long rest was interrupted by none other than a sneaky General Reginald Basterfield, 69th of his name, who took them outside the Order Under to introduce an old friend, Modem, a robot warrior created in a war almost 300 years ago. The two explain that Troop B-84 needs to find Indigo, who, it turns out, is an Unhallowed, a robot warrior's body possessed by a corrupted ghost. Oh good, yeah. We should definitely go find that guy. What could possibly go wrong?
Sawsbucky in chat calls it the secret tunnel of sunk cost fallacy.
Bro.
I think about that tunnel a lot.
Yeah.
There's
And how you think you understand a person, and then you learn that infallibly you can never know what's going on in another person's mind ever.
This person is our DM, I feel
Yes,
like. Yeah.
that is the person.
We were like, surely there is an end to this tunnel. It's man-made. There's a destiny. Other people must traverse it. And he's like,
I'm like, surely they won't just let themselves suffocate to death, right?
Surely he wouldn't have put this here if he didn't mean for us to climb in it.
Yeah, there was some sunk cost fallacy, but there was a lot of like mistrust in authority and like back and
Yes.
forth. I don't know. Like,
We learned a lot about that. Yeah. And that took most of the episode, let's be honest.
Bro. Yeah.
But we did make it back to the Order Under, and when we were offered the chance to stay or leave, that wasn't unique to us. That's typical of like the cadets do their first mission. After that, they're able to go back home having served their time, or they can stay on as part of the military. And one thing that we don't have a clip of, but that I treasure is that really that conversation kind of went like, are we family? Do we love each other? We do, and we want to stay, and we have too many reasons to keep fighting and keep trying to understand what's going on. And that was really special for the characters, I think. Did any of you guys, other than that, as a general explanation of what happened, is there anything I missed for that discussion with your characters?
I think it was just hard for Kadal because everything he knew and believed was just kept getting sinking worse and worse for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was
just
nothing. I think at this point it's already been discussed in the show. There's not really anything for Lacan to go back to except kind of the responsibility of sorting his family's estate. And so I think right now this is just kind of like an interesting distraction for him in his processing what's going on. He's still not kind of like made these people feel really dear to him in a way that he's accepted yet, but all his reflexes are telling him that they're important. And so it's just one of those moments where like he finds himself saying like, yeah, I'll stay, before he's really like figured out what his intention for all that is.
I think in that scene he was actually ranting about sheets and like thread count. And I was like, we know what you're really talking about.
That's a metaphor.
He was processing in his special way.
Uh-huh. Where our clip picks up, actually before that, we were introduced to a character named Modem, M0DM. Nate, can you tell us about Modem?
Yeah. Modem is a Warforged, which are basically constructs that were, well, made for battle, made for war. Modem and Basterfield particularly are NPCs that I've used in other games that are offline, but they're characters that I've had a lot of time playing with. So two of them are among like other characters are very special to me. They're very fun. And Modem's he's like very matter of fact. He's very dry, but also like kind of funny in that sense. He's just kind of like no nonsense. A lot of, I don't know. He's fun. I like him.
They're a great compliment together. And actually, Nate, while we're on the topic, I want to ask, how do you feel we've been as players playing with these beloved toys of yours? Because I know Christine and the rest of us just kind of pick them up and smash them into each other like this.
It's really interesting. As far as me, as far as like a player, especially as a DM, just because it's like not something I typically incorporate, it's not often that I involve a lot of like romance or anything to my it's just like not something I really think to do in these in these games. Like I'll write some characters that maybe have like a backstory involving it or stuff like that, but with characters that are like actively present, it's not often that I do that. So I wasn't even opposed to it. It was just one of those things where it's like that was brought up. It's like I had never really even considered that. And I assess it for a few seconds and it's like there's kind of no reason like not to. But then it was confirmed, like I was just like, let me see what the dice say. And the dice said like Yeah, they had talked about it and they're like, yeah, this wouldn't work.
Oh.
So,
Aw. But maybe it will.
a robot and an elephant.
Aw. Um,
Perfect.
I don't know if we have it available to show you right now, but there is some fantastic ship fan art made by none other than Christina Wolfgram of
No,
Modem
it
and
was
Basterfield.
Cassia. It was
Cassia.
Cassia and
By
not me.
Cassia. Right, sorry.
Took
Cassia
over my
Fistula.
body.
Yes. Specifically. I would yeah. Um Honor Arlene in chat just said, despite the titles for each session changing, the email alert for the stream has been stuck on the Basterfield plus modem title for so long. And that's
Oh,
me. I forgot, but I don't regret it.
that's
That-
incredible.
I just want us all to keep them in our hearts.
That's awesome.
Wow. Yep. All right. So we met Modem. They talked to us a little bit about I think they let us in on that they were kind of trying to do some stuff that was not strictly common knowledge in the military. And Basterfield explained to us what the unhallowed are, which is what our next clip covers. So let's watch that now.
The individual you encountered, the one that killed Jaw Ripper, is what's known as the Unhallowed. After the war for which these soldiers were created, many of these constructs perished, as soldiers do, and were buried with respects, as any other soldier would be. But over time, some of them came back. But different. They sounded different, acted different. They were entirely different people. And it is thought by many that when someone dies, with unfinished business, their spirits wander aimlessly as a ghost does, and they powerlessly, in hopes to resolve whatever it is that's keeping them from passing, can resolve this business. When the Unhallowed came to be, it's believed by many that the ghost of someone who had died was able to inhabit the bodies of these constructed soldiers, giving them powers and abilities to resolve their unfinished business. Only a handful of these things, these Unhallowed, came to be before the remaining corpses had to be destroyed. But it couldn't stop the spirits of those who had already found new vessels. They roam this world in search of resolution, but most of them have been lost for so long, they've almost lost themselves entirely.
Nate, tell us about the Unhallowed. Is that something like where did that whole concept come from? What do you like about it? What do you want people to know about it?
So let me see. I should have pulled that up preemptively. Wait, hold on.
We're holding. In the meantime, we have some art to consume.
Yes. I think
Such an intimate moment you captured, Cassia.
Mhm.
Definitely not Christina.
Thanks.
for some they were I thought I had gotten the idea based on something else that was from a previous edition. From a previous edition of D&D. Let me see here.
You don't have to tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way, it was based on this concept that pre-existed to where it was basically kind of undead creatures, but they were like armor. And I really liked that concept beyond just like I basically wanted like the concept of a ghost. There's this thing that has unfinished business. That's why it's around. That's why it's causing trouble. That's why it's doing all kinds of stuff, but also make it a a cool robot. And from other like games and settings and stuff, which won't go too much into because there's a lot of questions as to why they would even be here. But yeah, it's Warforged that have been more inhabited by lost spirits, but Warforged corpses specifically. So they're more or less reanimated robot corpses, which Modem is a Warforged, so he is like the physical build of what it takes to make one of those. But the difference is his spirit, his internals, is the soul that was synthesized for him. So he is like a complete thing. I don't know. It was a really fun concept. It also really let me play with, I mean, we haven't gotten to the clips about going into detail about the Unhallowed yet, but it just, I don't know, really let me like play around with like the aesthetic and also like being able to make something that is pretty low in theory CR with how difficult it is, especially for y'all. It was one of those things where it's like, this is way more difficult. This is way harder of an NPC, of a monster than it should be, mostly because of team comp. So that was kind of like, I very much overestimated how difficult this guy was going to be. But then that made it to where it's like, I don't know, after that first fight, it kind of came into like, oh, let's lean into it and kind of make this like more or less like one of the main villains, more or less, of this season. Because that wasn't entirely the intent up front.
Well, he also, Basterfield and Modem sent us after Indigo, which is the last thing we wanted to do. But can you clarify before we move into our next episode, the plot hook there? Why did they want to send us? Why did we need to find him?
Well, they have their personal reasons as to why they're pursuing the Unhallowed. It was beyond just like, this is a threat that needs to be dealt with. It was something personal to them. It was an issue that they want to see resolution for. And also, since we're actually no, I wanted to drop a fun couple little like mechanics behind them, but maybe we can do that once we wrap talking about him in particular.
And at that point, though, we were still accepting it as like the military has some reason why they want Indigo.
Yeah.
But you're saying that wasn't really the case. It was just Basterfield and Modem. Cool.
I'm okay being that part of that military too.
Kadal didn't like Modem, obviously, which
Right.
was like interesting because that was the first time he just blatantly disliked someone, and that was based off of the fact that they represented.
That was really interesting, and it was one of those things where like it was planned that he was going to have a little dialogue to explain why Modem was so secretive, but then Kadal's literal reaction to him just like it was cool that it naturally did it like for that. It's like that doesn't need to be explained. You can see firsthand that people are just afraid of the sight of these things.
Yeah. His only experience with it was killing one of my friends. So that was interesting to see Kadal like very blatantly disliking someone.
I love the name Unhallowed. I grew up Catholic, and like whenever you say the Our Father, you say that he's hallowed be thy name. Like that's the godliest thing, and I like that it has two meanings, that it's kind of like unnatural and scary, but it's also literally a being that was hollow and now it's unhollow.
That's cool.
It's so good.
I'm just thinking about how Basterfield is like my fave, and I trust him, and now I'm like, this guy kind of just like used these underlings of his to do his personal bidding. I mean, that's fine in retrospect because I still love him, but
well, there's more details that are revealed later as to why.
Yeah. So we should move on because we have 6 episodes more.
Oh.
So episode 7 is called Take More Than You Need. Let's watch the recap for that one now.
Last time on StonesThrow, Cities Beneath.
After learning that a network of thieves called the Cloakers might be their best bet at tracking down Indigo, Troop B84 sought out their old friend Castrid for advice. She suggested they fake their own kidnapping, obviously, and allow her to try to win back the good graces of the Cloakers' boss by presenting them as her prisoners. This plan immediately backfired. Just so bad. Troop B84 found themselves in a business meeting from hell with the Cloakers' big boss and big beholder, Silgar, and his secretary, Meredith! Turns out he'd been after Jawripper and the same above artifacts Troop B84 yoinked from that inn. Now, his plan in shambles, Silgar was facing financial ruin, or worse, totally redoing his budget. Knowing they weren't getting out alive without some kind of deal, Lacan, Luna, Kadal, and Cassia signed a contract legally binding them to bring the dice and tentacle artifacts back to Silgar. And in return, Silgar would reunite them with Indigo by putting a bounty on them, dead or alive.
And there is Silgar, our blessed boss. Castrid is a prominent character from the prologue, someone who really helped us as we were looking for above artifacts, someone Luna surprisingly befriended, and she helped them find their way in some of the areas of the Underdark that they wouldn't have otherwise had access to. And they thought that she might know a little bit about this gang called the Cloakers, this thieves guild, because she was from it's the Dregs, right? Not the Dredges, Nate?
Mm-hmm.
From the Dregs, which is an area of the Underdark where they hang out. We didn't find out her last name at that point, right? It was much later, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a little foreshadowing for you. So she did help us find the Cloakers. She took us in as her prisoners and almost immediately pieced out, leaving us there to deal with Silgar, the Beholder. There's some really great clips of this on social media. One of them involves an unknown knight of some kind charging in and challenging Silgar, only to be completely vaporized in front of our eyes. One of my favorite NPCs who has only appeared in this episode is Meredith, his assistant, a tiefling woman. I love her so much. But our clip, which I think we'll roll right into the clip and then do the discussion. Our clip is when we finally kind of made our way down to business with Silgar after going through all the stages of grief or all the stages of terror, and getting to the point where we're like, okay, fine, what do we do? Like, you tell us, you could vaporize us at any moment. This is where Silgar explains to us what our agreement will be if we want to have access to the Unhallowed and what we will give in exchange. So let's watch the Silgar's contract clip right now.
Contact with the Unhallowed in exchange for the artifacts. This is your proposal.
Do it.
Meredith! Draft up a contract.
Contracts.
That's going to take a few minutes, but we should have a boilerplate that will apply to this. Just needs to fill in some blanks.
Sure.
But in the meantime,
So
the Unhallowed is a bounty hunter. When there is a reward, he shows up.
What's the reward you're gonna put out?
The reward will be... Well, let's see here. What's the budget got?
I imagine him on an abacus.
With like a couple eye stalks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like moving like a couple pieces around through his little glasses.
You hear a
Well,
mumble.
let's see. We got this. Okay. Who's there? Oh, Yes. That'll do. 100 platinum.
The con's playing
which
it
is
cool.
about 1,000 gold.
What's the bounty? Kadal's kind of like, what if I got that bounty?
Oh, right. The target. Well, you want to meet him so bad. So he'll be coming for you. This is my offer.
And the terms of that bounty stipulate alive. Yes?
Well, unfortunately, we consistently put out dead or alive.
That's seems inefficient.
It also
Say
seems
what
like
you
you
may.
really
And that seems counter to your complaint about Jaw Ripper, which is why we're here. So,
We have
made
consistent branding to uphold.
then I regret that he is likely to find us. But
He is one of the best.
I can't really imagine another way.
It's
Door
fine.
opens. Here you are, sir.
Very well.
However, before you issue that, you'll allow us time to get back to the Order Under to fulfill our quest to you, yes?
You will be, once again, blindfolded and bound, escorted out. And then once you have left my office, I will give you 12 hours before I put the bounty out.
He extends an eye stalk and picks up a quill on the desk, signs the contract, and then this eye kind of slides it over to the other end of the desk.
I'm just imagining like the eye looking forward as it scoots it like
Do we have a deal?
Do we all have to sign?
Yes.
Well, let me read it first.
I just need everyone to see that Nate is wearing an Ursula shirt and just said, "Do we have a deal?" as he put across the contract.
You knew where this was going. And right here, you're sure the two artifacts and not of equivalent value artifacts? They must be the tentacle circle and the dice.
Correct. I look forward to doing business with you.
As he extends 4 eye stalks to shake hands with.
Wait.
Kadal licks his
I give it a very firm handshake.
Mm-hmm.
It's unnerving as you shake this thing and there's an eye just looking back at you. It'll like blink.
Kadal licks his fingers like, all right, I hate this.
And that's where we'll stop.
Oh.
Oh, Meredith, how I love you. So the thing is, Silgar was mad at us because by messing up, by stealing some of the from the people we stole it from, by stopping the Jaw Ripper thing, we just got in the way of all his plans to cause complete economic collapse and run the economy of Raynor. So that was the deal we had to make in order to get out of that. Christina, I remember Cassia having like very extreme reactions to Silgar. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. It was complete freeze response. Just I think she was very aware of how small she was and how he and above board, it's me not knowing what a beholder does until we saw that knight get just totally obliterated, and then that was even scarier. But Cassia was very aware that he was basically like a giant bouncy ball that could just squash her. And I think also underlying all of that is that she's a little scared of math, and that seemed to be very important to him. So scary encounter. Very scary. And
I think we can,
hilarious.
yeah. It's wild to be so terrified and so into a character.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I think we can move right on to the next episode unless there's any other tidbits that people want to share about Silgar.
Just that this was a moment for Lacan to realize how essential Luna as the group communicator was, because I think he was like, business, I can talk. Jesus Christ, Luna, you do. So yeah, I didn't do so good, and a whole new appreciation. But
there's also a really great moment where Lacan had snacks for everyone, and Kadal and Cassia were just sitting on the floor eating snacks while Lacan tried to talk more sense into Silgar.
It was like we were like iPad kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're very well behaved.
Because I nor Kadal had experience with Beholder, it was really funny to have. It was really nice and educational to have some random knight in shining armor come in and get vaporized for Kadal to go, oh, I should take this seriously now.
Yeah, the DM killed a guy just so you would know the context.
I know. Yeah, and rewatching that episode and that moment specifically a couple times, I was like, thank you, Nate.
Yeah, such good storytelling.
I remember that specifically because Rachel and I both went, oh no. And both Christina and Bo were like, cool.
I'm like, what? He's got 10 eyes. Is it
you sweet summer
decafocals? And then watching this guy melt, I was like, how?
All right. Moving on to episode 8, which is called Blood.
Oh, good.
We headed out. Silgar let us leave, bound and blindfolded, so we had no idea where the cloakers were. But our job was to go back to the Order Under, get the artifacts Silgar wanted, and we hopefully were going to get them to protect us from the bounty hunter, Indigo, the Unhallowed, that Silgar was sending after us. So let's see how that went and watch the recap of episode 8 right now. Last time on StonesThrow Cities Beneath.
Troop B-84 found out that General Basterfield and the military would not be able to protect them from the bounties Silgar placed on their cute little heads. Instead, the group would be sent away to a new dwelling out of the way. Hopefully not so out of the way that Pluck can't find them. In the meantime, to keep face, Troop B-84 got assigned a new mission. Take care of a vicious minotaur attacking the city gates. Only one near fatal goring later, the group wrestled the minotaur and sent him on his way. Afterwards, General Basterfield told them it was time to leave. Not to their new crib, but onto their next mission. To the Glowwood.
Okay. We went back. We were like, protect us. They were like, no. We're like, great. What else is new? No one protects us. We have to do everything ourselves. But they're going to send us away. Turns out they didn't send us away to a safe place. They were going to send us to the Glowwood. Yeah. That's all important to the story. But the real meat of episode 8 was the Minotaur fight. And especially some things we learned about Cassia during that fight. And again, I think we should just go straight into the clip from this episode and then discuss it afterwards. So let's watch the recap clip that I have titled Hooves and Kisses right now.
See, guards are lined up at the gate. And outside, through the gate, you do in fact see slamming away with an axe at the gate and at the concrete is a minotaur. And he screams,
Stazas kigo gurgast. Zinok hikosats. Zinazis joyce.
It's like almost Klingon.
It's like a mix of Klingon, Pokemon, and German?
But he is speaking something.
Yeah.
Anyone
Cassia.
speak? Oh, good.
Cassia, do your thing.
can I cast comprehend languages, please, for 500?
Yeah, and that's every language, right?
It is literal meaning of any spoken language that you hear.
Awesome. Badass.
And I
Okay.
didn't get it at a weird market.
Yeah, you cast this, and even though a lot of you continue to hear this abyssal nonsense, Cassia, you understand him. As he's saying,
This will be my new labyrinth. I will rule its twists and turns.
Okay, I got it. He's saying that he wants this to be his new labyrinth, and also, I did want to share the only knowledge about minotaurs that Cassia has is from a book she read called A Court of Hooves and Kisses.
Oh.
So
Lacan has also read that one, but will not say that.
it's kind of a sexy labyrinth for a second, but then she's like, he seems really serious about it. Like, really.
Was the Minotaur the prince in that book?
You'll have to read it. I'll tell you later, Luna.
If the Minotaur sees that there's another Minotaur here that's already made it its home, maybe it'll just go away.
he keeps rattling the cages and says,
Zinak yad yad yo rings uswan yolis. Uzi dioksta diotif dikion ligis.
It's like
Kakwas.
there's like a silence for a second, and then we all slowly turn to Cassia, like, what was that?
Cassia, he said, I will disembowel all of you and wear your insides as socks as I trample through the corpses of your families.
He said no.
Cassia,
I would like to disguise self, and I want Cassia to summon the image of Jacques, the hero of A Court of Hooves and Kisses, and with this spell, you can transform into anything with the same limb structure, so I want to look like a minotaur, but like a hot one.
okay,
Dueling Minotaur territories.
cool.
And can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try and just.
Nice.
Chef?
It's a regional dialect.
Okay.
I think that sounded just like what Nate.
It's a
So
it's a foreign
Cassia has
Minotaur.
transformed into a minotaur. And is saying something.
I'd like to featherfall, and Jacques has really flowing, beautiful blonde hair, and just kind of falls. And then I'd like to, as my bonus action, telekinetic shove, because that always works so well.
Sure.
To try to get that guy off that door.
Yeah.
He succeeds the save and is not shoved, unfortunately. It's a strength saving throw. You can assume he's pretty freaking strong.
But probably he feels the tug, right? Of the. he feels
Like
a pull.
the caress.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He kind of feels a little shove.
Does he see the hot Minotaur floating down?
He does in fact lock eyes with the other minotaur.
It looks just like the book cover.
Mhm. He charges you and gores you on his horn.
Okay,
We
take
don't
me out to
love
dinner
goring.
first, honestly.
Wow.
Crazy.
This is just like the book too.
Every-
Score her. I hardly know her.
Laughing until I hear what's gonna happen.
This is like
20
the cover of the second book.
We're jumping ahead.
20 piercing damage.
Whoa.
20
Yes.
20 piercing damage,
Yes.
so I'm dead. But
That brings you down to 0.
I only have 14 of those things.
Yeah, a minute. You all watch as a minotaur just charges head on and just jabs a horn through Minotaur Cassia. The disguise self spell wears off as Cassia's unconscious body takes form, as he lets out a roar and just
And here we see the cover of Cassia's favorite book, the bestseller. I don't think I included it in that clip unless I missed it. No, I did. Never mind. Anyway, Christina, tell us about how you're feeling right now after watching that clip. Thinking.
Actually, I think I missed a lot of the things that the other characters were saying in that moment and am appreciating it fully as myself and as Cassia. When you said that's just like the book too.
Yes.
It was very fun watching these through because I mean, a lot of it happens in just this blackout state, you know, and I do forget a lot of what happens. But spoiler, Cassia was okay eventually, but I do think that was the second time you had been like completely downed, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that affected you if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, and it was again before Cassia tried invisibility and then immediately got stabbed and poisoned and died. And then this time, I think she was feeling pretty proud of not only transforming into a Minotaur, but then doing Featherfall for the first time. And like, I think Cassia is like not someone who's ever been in like a spotlight. Like she's just farm girl. Like it was a big deal for her, I think, to be commanding attention like that. And to immediately be like skewered is so sad, but also so funny. But also traumatizing. Like, yeah, I don't know how it's gonna keep affecting her because it's like she's getting such mixed messages when she uses her power.
Lacan, you got some pretty cool loot from this. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we're at a point in the series where no one has seen me whiff it 1,000 times with said battle action the Minotaur. So at this point, I can call it cool loot that I'm very glad to own. That definitely doesn't turn into a much creepier version of itself and taken other places that I wouldn't even know about. So, yeah, let's root myself in the moment. Cool loot. Yep, absolutely.
All right, great. Speaking of other places we might go, where things might happen to that battle axe. Let's move right along to episode 9, of which the title is Home. Oh, wait. One more thing I wanted to ask because I am curious. Nate, the Minotaur language.
Yes.
Were you reading some kind of language or did you actually just make those sounds?
There is a translator.
I thought it seemed like you were very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were conjugated verbs.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, hold up. What are they? Oh man, I already forgot. What do they speak again? Yeah, that's right. Abyssal. Yeah, I literally just like looked up like abyssal translator and who knows how accurate or real that stuff is, but hey, it worked.
Someone out there who speaks abyssal is like, oh, that was such improper vocabulary.
You imagine going to the Abyssal Cafe and you order an Abyssal and they just come back to you and like anything else.
Mm-hmm. All right. So like I said, next episode will be called Home. After vanquishing the Minotaur, we headed out to the Glowwood as instructed, and that's where we find ourselves at the beginning of episode 9. Let's watch that recap.
Last time on StonesThrow, Cities Beneath.
Ah, the Glowwood, one of Rainier's most exclusive neighborhoods. This gated community has it all. Fog, the looming threat of memory loss, and, oh yeah, a spooky carnival domain of dread, which is where Troop B-84 ended up on their current mission. Lacan, Kadal, and Cassia ran into Galil, a fellow cadet who was presumed dead months ago. Funny story, he thinks it's only been a few hours since he disappeared, and he's hoping the carnival will give him a full-time job because he likes the vibe. Luna was welcomed home by several of the carnival's colorful and also very monochrome characters, eventually getting an audience with She Who Sees, Madame Eva. Luna finally learns some details about her past. Her body was created by a power-hungry lord of a domain of dread, Boo, but her body was imbued with her beautiful soul by Ava, Yay, who named Luna after a mysterious glowing ball in the sky, the moon. Ava gave Luna a chilling message from her cards. To defeat the Unhallowed, Troop B84 will have to reunite him with someone from his past. And that someone might be closer than they think.
There was a lot in this episode. I want to start out by reenacting one of the coolest moments in D&D for me as a player ever, which was when we were playing right before this episode, before we left to go to the Glowwood. And Nate was describing an envelope that Luna just happened to find tucked behind her bed frame and was like, Anna, could you please look behind you between Curse of Strahd and that other book? And I was like, what are you talking about? I've been in my office all day. There's no way there's something in here that I haven't seen. And this happened.
Wait, you put it with Curse of Strahd?
Yep.
And
I'm
he had
scared of
just
your brain.
walked in here literally like talking to me, and I'd been so busy working that he had just kind of like shoop, without me
Oh my
looking.
God.
Surprised and delighted me. And of course we opened it because we opened mail. And inside
You should know that about us.
was the Raven card, which some of you may recognize. And the envelope said, "Do not open. Please return to She Who Sees," which turned out to be Madame Ava, which we didn't know at the time. But mad props to Nate the DM. Yes, Rachel.
Literal.
Quick question. So we obviously open the mail as we do. You deliver that. Do we know? We'll talk about this. I don't know. Maybe at some point. And she didn't really. She noted that it had been opened because it said don't
Yeah.
open. Just bring it to her. But then she was
Yeah.
like, "Huh, somebody opened my mail," but she didn't do anything about it. So is
Seems
that
like it's
because it's fine? It's
Yeah.
fine, right? That's
It doesn't apply to us, the do not open piece.
Yeah.
Unless
Definitely not.
everything she told you was a lie because she was
Ugh.
so mad that we had
Oh.
opened. No, that would be too many layers.
So,
Right?
Bo, I want you to talk about seeing Galil. We walked through this mist. It was like we couldn't find our way. People that we encountered didn't seem to be conscious. And then all of a sudden we opened into this dusk-ridden carnival. And one of the first people we met was Galil. Who's Galil, Bo?
So Galil was one of the first friends that our troop met during training, and he went off to do his first mission. He didn't end up coming back. He was presumed dead. We got his sword back, we mentioned earlier in was that in the prologue or was that in this season?
That
Yes,
was, I
yes.
think.
I think the prologue.
Yeah.
Because that was there was a moment between Galil and I where I was trying to consult him because he did not want to go. He was concerned, he was really nervous. So I told him it was going to be fine. He's been trained by the best. He didn't come back, and that really ruined me because I felt like, or that really ruined Kadal because he felt like he really had confidence that he was going to be fine because he was trained by the same people that trained me. So that had been on his shoulders for a really long time. And to see Galil again and presumably being completely fine, he just had disappeared or ran away, was really confusing and just really jarring for him. And I think that there was still this guilt. There was kind of guilt, but then also like anger because he put this blame on himself that didn't have to be there because you're fine, you're doing okay. I'm confused. So there was a lot of confusion in this moment for Kadal and for me because I was like, where the f are we? And how come why are we at a carnival suddenly?
Yep, and it was revealed that he felt like he had only been there a little while. He had been missing a really long time. Um, then the three of you
Yeah.
had some fun. I met someone named Alti who seemed to recognize me and said I needed to go see someone. So I went with Alti because it seemed like everyone there knew who I was, I being Luna. And the rest of the team had a grand old time. What'd y'all get up to?
Well, Kadal was upset and confused about the Galil thing because he said, I've only been here for a few hours. I'm like, nah, you've been here for months. So I had to blow off some steam because I'm confused and angry. So we went to the Hammer Bell because that happens to be Kadal and Bo's favorite feature of any kind of attraction.
Fun fact, we as almost a complete group went to the Ren Fair before the show even started, and it was Bo's first time at the Ren Fair, and I have a video of Bo doing the Hammer Bell at that Ren Fair. So as this was happening, I was not in the scene, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, we have a video of Kadal doing this."
Yes, yes. And I was just in Chicago this last week, and there was a Hammer Bell there. And you better believe I freaking went straight to that first thing.
Did you record it?
I did. I did.
And didn't we meet a local author? I think Lacan had an interesting
I almost
conversation with
forgot about that.
the
Some
literary
guy.
master himself.
How could you forget? You like disappeared.
I know. They were chatting with an author. I think the initials were even revealed that it was VR were the initials of this author.
Some guy.
I was like, how interesting. What a, totally normal thing that is not registering with me as anything in particular. And then later that author was revealed to be Van Richten, which caused one of the most genuine just I can't moments of my life. It wasn't even like flailing or like shock. It was just gone.
Yeah,
Can't.
there's like an anime term for it. Like back in the day, like a face fault, I think it would be if you were writing that in your fanfiction.net
Yeah.
story. And a
Yeah.
full-on face faulted out of the chair, guys. Like
Yes.
a leg stuck up crooked in the background and shit. And we didn't even notice. We were just in the RP. So it was only on replay do we catch the... I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, on Arlene is saying in chat, "Oh, it's Volo." I was like, maybe it's Volo. Anyways, yeah. Any other carnival game highlights before we get to the Madame Ava stuff?
Oh,
Please.
slow motion Bo. Like there was just this beautiful like improv space work moment where Bo threw like the final dart at the balloon and he needed like 3 hits and it was just his last shot. And that was really special to me.
It was
like...
it was a Chariots of Fire moment for me. Honestly. If I could describe it in one word, it would be cinema. And
Here.
I feel like the prize that I earned was even more fantastic and well deserving.
Oh yeah, what
but
was your prize?
Kadal got a small music box that was perfectly in sync with the music that we were hearing in the carnival, which was so cool. But even cuter was that it would open up and a cute little Coraline looking dragon boy that looked oddly similar to our swamp puppy Kadal. It was the cutest. He was so excited. He kept that. He held on to it. And we're not sure where that's going to lead us in the future, but he still has it and doesn't know what it is anymore.
Yeah, that thing's cursed for sure.
No way it's not. But we don't even wait.
We don't.
So the most important thing to remember, and there's like a battle at the end, and there's werewolves, and Anna's making them laugh, so they're not fighting. Like
that's in the next episode.
Oh my god, I'm skipping ahead. All right, well,
first
when we get there, I have some crazy shit to tell you guys.
I know. I need to talk to you. But before that, we switched scenes from party will literally play carnival games.
Yeah.
For hours instead of going to therapy to Luna talking to Madame Ava.
Luna lore dump.
Who some of you recognize as a very famous D&D character. Some of you may not have heard of her ever. But let's watch the clip and then I want Nate to talk a little bit about what Madame Ava revealed and where we find ourselves when we're looking at the carnival. So let's watch Madame Ava and Luna's origins right now.
You saw Alti. Yes, because that light I speak of in the sky, you'll see it when you... Well, actually, she could like kind of pull a curtain to reveal a small window in the wall. And she points out, and you see, in fact, a large white circle, quite bright in the dark sky.
I'm imagining like the camera outside the window, like as the curtain's drawn and it's just shining so bright on Luna's face and her eyes are just so wide. It's like the most beautiful thing she's ever seen.
That up there is called the moon. That only shows up every so often. And because it is like that, that is why she is able to speak to you as freely and friendly as she can tonight.
Is it alive?
In its own way. It is also where your name comes from. It is things relating to moon. We sometimes use the term lunar.
Lunar. That's what I'm named after?
That is, in its own way, why you exist.
Wait, why I exist? What do you mean?
Luna, we are not in the world that you have become acquainted with. We are not in Raynor. We are not in the cooperative. This is a different world. This is a domain. There are many of them. All these domains have a lord of their domain. This one in particular, that is me. The lord of these domains, they are able to do very interesting things with it. Some use these powers for their own selfish reasoning. Some use these domains as a cheap means to rule, to create hollow kingdoms and fake empires that they rule over unopposed, to fill out these empires, to create subjects, to have servants. Some of these lords, they create people. They fill out the empty rooms and create these shells of humans, tieflings, halflings, anything you can think of. These are people. But behind their eyes, there is not too much going on. This is what created you. You see a tear fall from her eye. She says, "Your creator is a very troubled man. He does these heartless acts. Beyond creating these shells of people, he commits much more heinous actions. And I try what I can. I do what I can to more or less rescue these individuals when I can and give them a chance at a real life, an actual meaningful existence, to make their own decisions, to have their own soul, to have their own free will, to experience being a person. It's not fair to be brought into a world you did not ask to exist in, only to serve. So, when I can, I bring them here, and doing what I do,
I have cool little rituals, and with the power of a full moon, I can imbue a soul into a shell.
So, you did create me because a person is their soul, not their shell.
You see her eyes soften. She gives a big, somber smile. She goes, and this is why you are one of my favorites. You are a good little fungus.
Madame Ava also gave us a full reading from the Taraka deck, which you can see in the episode if you want. I also clipped it out, but we didn't have time for it in the show today. So if you're interested, let me know in chat or on social media. Maybe I'll post that as its own clip. But yeah, that was a whole big reveal for Luna. And then Anna, the player, is just screaming about Curse of Strahd lore in the back of my mind. So, Nate, talk to us a little bit about Madame Ava, the carnival, the origin stories of Luna. What's important to share here?
So the carnival is based on a carnival that already exists in canon D&D lore. It's from Ravenloft, but I put a lot of twists on it. But the carnival at its base is really, really cool. It's one of my favorite domains. But then changed some things to make it fit. Madame Ava being a Dark Lord of this domain of dread was a choice that I felt like fit and was a really interesting twist. Yeah, I don't know. Like people who watched DCA or like have watched any of my like other D&D stuff know that Ravenloft is, you know, my home for D&D. So that's most of the campaigns I've run is, you know, Domain of Dread, horror based. That's home for me. So taking y'all even very briefly into this setting was like, okay, this is the kind of stuff I can like DM without really thinking about.
It was very fun for me as a fangirl. And yet it still gave me no insight as to the things that were to come. Maybe it should have. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think that that's all we need to cover for episode 9. Because we did stay in the carnival for a little while into episode 10. So let's go ahead and watch the episode 10 recap video right now.
Last time on Stones Throws Cities Beneath.
Troop B84 had some pretty big carnival wins. Kadal popped balloons, Luna learned Kastrid is more than she seems, and the team had a pack of werewolves howling with laughter. Leaving the Glowwood wasn't such a hoot, though. Cassia, Lacan, and Kadal's memories didn't come back with them, making it all the more confusing to find out that 3 weeks had passed since they left for their mission. Even worse, they arrived at the Order under HQ to find that General Basterfield, 69th of his name, had been banished from the city for sending them on a mission to the Glowwood. Now Zarnus was in charge, and his first order of business, handing Troop B84 over to the Unhallowed.
Dun-dun-dun. First, before we get to some of the meat of this episode, it's worth mentioning that this was the appearance of the Rafflewolf. I love Tasha's Hideous Laughter as a spell. It's one of my favorites in every version of D&D or video game D&D that I play. It rarely works that well. It worked better than anyone could possibly have imagined in that fight. I took out a leader werewolf and they laughed on the floor for the entire fight. Um,
And
It
they're
was very
still
special
laughing,
for me.
actually.
mhm,
I heard.
mhm. It was very special for me. There was also some more carnival games. Anything that we need to say about those? Oh, Rachel, we didn't specifically talk about your experiences with your new loot in the carnival, and that really came into play during the werewolf fight. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we got into this fight defending what's her name? That's that
Alti.
Alti, that nice girl who was a werewolf herself, badass, and fought on our side.
Mhm,
We stuck
mhm.
around to defend the carnival from these impending werewolves. Luna cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter, the biggest, meanest one, on his ass for the duration of the fight. Just had the giggles the whole time. And Lacan had to fight the wolves alongside the other three and was having a very hard time because entirely indicative of his skill or lack of training or desire to be the best, was just fumbling these battle axe swings because the wood handle had turned to bone. Okay, like it was a wood axe when he went in, and it came out, and now it is a bone handle axe, and that's every time he touched it, he was like, ugh! So he didn't swing so good. But
Yeah.
then we forgot all about it.
Really true. But Madame Ava encouraged Luna not to tell anyone in the party what exactly had transpired because the location of the carnival being known could cause danger for everyone there, and she was trying to create this kind of safe space among the dangerous domains of dread. So Luna did promise to do that, which has been very difficult for her. She is allowed to talk a little bit about her origins, which she has kind of done in her very special, completely disorganized, and not very clear way. She also convinced Cassia to give her journal where she had recorded everything that happened in the Glowwood and never gave it back.
Oh my God,
So,
I forgot.
yeah.
That was the point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
damn it.
Yeah. But we head back from there to the Order Under, thinking that we, have kind of completed our mission. Oh, also, by the way, we don't have time to really dive into exactly how this happened or how delightful it was for me, but Luna just happened to mention Kastrid to Madame Ava and found out that her last name was Seppa. So, again, if you're a DCA fan, someone who has followed the lore of some of Nate and my other characters, that might be a specifically interesting episode for you to go back and look at. Episode 10. 9 and 10, really. Anyway, they went back to the Order Under thinking their mission had been somewhat successful. They needed to rally the troops, go back to safety. Unfortunately, safety was not what they found. So let's go ahead and watch the very traumatizing clip from episode 10 called Zarnus Betrayal.
Upon entering, you are taken by surprise to see that Zarnus, and only Zarnus, is in the room. He says, Troop B84, welcome back. Please have a seat. The door slams shut behind you. And the door closing reveals the person standing behind it. As you hear,
Welcome back indeed.
Zarna says, I understand. This may be a lot to take in.
What the fuck?
Much has changed in the 3 weeks you've been absent.
3 weeks?
3 weeks you've been gone. I know that this individual's presence is
I'm standing, by the way, now.
concerning.
Kadal's in a attack position, in a fighting stance.
As things stand now, the Unhallowed has agreed to peaceful negotiations so long as contingencies are met.
Are the contingencies in the room with us right now? Are we the contingencies?
What negotiations?
The Unhallowed points his gun at you. Very casually, Lacan says, this is a sharp one, isn't it?
He doesn't even have the money for the bounty.
No, but the buyer does. And y'all are here.
You
As
sold
long
us
as-
out?
Sir,
There's
what
one-
is happening?
While you were gone, he broke into the city and said he was looking for you. And apparently, as he stated, a bounty has been placed on the lot of you. When we told him you weren't present, he just waited. And he states that he's not necessarily interested in hurting anybody and is willing to depart peacefully so long as the four of you go with him.
It all comes to Zarnis. Master Zarnis, why are you letting this happen?
This is a difficult decision. Myself and the council feel that Basterfield would not be willing or able to make the lives and the safety of not just cadets, not just other troops, all of Raynor are very much in danger, and we have an opportunity to stop a war before it even starts. This individual is capable of a lot of destruction before we could do anything, and we can possibly bring the casualties down to zero.
So you're going to send us with that?
That. Damn. I'm a that. Look at me.
You're really going to let this happen?
Do you really not see that I have no choice?
You're one of the strongest people I've ever known, and you're just going to send your son, your brother, to his death, potentially. You're okay with that? My only family that I have is sending me to my potential death. Why? Why? Because you have no choice? You're the strongest person I know. You're okay with this? Me and my friends. You didn't try to fight him? Or stop him? Or talk with him?
He says, I didn't expect you to understand. I was hoping one day you would see the bigger picture of what's real and what matters.
So what matters is something besides your family.
The cost of at most 4 lives versus thousands. What would you do?
Luna puts her hand on Kadal's shoulder and looks him in the eye and just slowly pulls her cowl off and drops it on the desk, and then turns her back on the desk, but keeps her hand on his shoulder.
And Kadal's underskin, under his scales, is flickering now and getting more solid. Says, you make me sick. And then grabs the desk and throws it on the wall.
He doesn't flinch. He looks at it, and just takes a breath. He looks to the Unhallowed and says, if there's nothing else, I believe we're all square here. That's it. Squared away. Come on, y'all. We got a little trip.
okay?
Cassia's been trying to cast invisibility this whole time to try to get away. And it's fizzling out because her body doesn't understand that she already used up all
Aw.
her magic.
Kadal says, "You're a coward, and you betrayed the entire Order Under and Cooperative by sacrificing not just your cadets, but your family. I never want to see you again. And I might never get the opportunity to. Congratulations."
He walks up to you. If there's no resist, he gets pretty close.
Yeah.
And he gets just in ear distance. His head's next to yours. And says, "You will thank me once you have learned the betterment for the Black Hand."
Ugh.
Whoop.
Oof.
Someone in chat was like, so is Nate's plan for Kadal just let's turn his world and preconceptions upside down perpetually? That was
This guy's too happy.
Yeah. What was going through Kadal's mind during that scene, Bo?
Darnus was, if there was ever, I think during all of these experiences, it kept changing his perception of things, and things aren't always what you expect them to be. And so there's so much unsureness, and Zarnus being the father figure or the family figure that he was and the mentor that he was to Kadal, that was kind of his foundation. And that was like his home base for solace. And it was like, that's always true and that's always right. And so I can always fall back to him and count on him. And then to walk into the room when the door's shut, I freaking knew Nathan. And literally when the door shut, I was like, oh, I bet you. And it was like, I equated it to, I don't remember who I was talking to, either one of you guys or one of my friends, but I equated it to walking in on your partner cheating on you, and just the guttural feeling of betrayal. And I above board felt that and just felt so sick. And then so for Kadal, all of those things, and having Zarnus being that like beacon of solace and confidence, and like, this is at least my totem of reality. At least I know that this will never let me down. Having that be his world crumble, having that betray him, it was his world fully crumbling, I think.
Nate, how did that feel from your end?
My bad.
You piece of shit. Ah! Oh my god.
It's I can't remember if I've talked about this on stream or not, but I've talked about it with a couple of y'all. But basically there's a lot of stuff that was planned like way far out, but it's like none of this will have any impact until a lot more is established. And right around, I'd say probably around session 6 or 7 was when it's like, all right, this is like, because it's like, we're crossing a bridge and there's piranhas.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this like scary guy. And
there's like bandits. It's like, yeah, this is well and good. We're established. And then there's a certain point where it's like, okay, now the stuff that I've been sitting on is like, this is when it happens. This is when the linchpin is pulled and like all this stuff starts happening. And this was a
Exploding.
major one that I was like, that was one I was actually like a bit nervous about. Basically, like the whole campaign was just like, I don't know how this is gonna go over.
Really?
Mhm.
How did you have any expectations, or how did you feel about how it ended up going?
I think how it ended up going was how I would expect it to. It's like, oh, well, that sucks a lot for everyone, especially Kadal. And in a way, because it was actually pretty late in the campaign, and so much has happened since. I don't know, from my observation, or at least my assumption, there hasn't been a lot of time to really digest or like process what's going on. So
Yeah.
minor, not spoiler, but like I think a big thing I would like to do when starting the new season is allowing some space to just kind of like process and like talk out, like, hey, let's actually like give you and your characters a little breathing room to like go over what's been going on, because it has been pretty saturated with twists and
No
all
time
that.
to think or grieve, just carry on and get the next thing done.
Nate, a couple people in chat are mentioning that they, especially Shadow Landman, said, I'm still not sure if he's pro Black Hand or anti Black Hand. Is that intentional that we don't know what Zarnus affiliation is?
Oh, Zarnus?
Mm-hmm.
That must have been a misconception on my part. Or a miscommunication. Because Zarnus is Zarnus is
Pro.
part of.
Yeah.
Part of the Black
Yeah.
Hand.
It got like confirmed in the finale, right?
It was confirmed. Yeah, it was confirmed later.
Yeah.
Ugh, this is giving me like a
The acting in that episode.
Yeah.
I often
intense.
like am the most egotistical, self-congratulatory person sitting here being like, I knew this cast was gonna be so good. When I put this cast together, I knew it. Look at them. They're so good. Yeah. So good job, guys.
It was
We're just having like, I imagine the perspective switch of us just like kids in a sandbox, like, yeah. And
there have been instances of that throughout the season where it's like heavy, and then someone makes a joke or something, and we're like, oh yeah. And like back into it. D&D is so crazy, man. This is such a crazy brain gymnastics of like disassociating, lock back in, jump out into a joke, lock back in.
Well, there are only 2 more episodes to recap. So unless there's anything more we need to grab from episode 10, let's move ahead to episode
crazy.
11, which is called The Indigo Child. There is no video for the recap of episode 11 because that would have played during our finale, during which Nate actually did the recap himself. But Christina did, of course, write an incredible summary for all of our help. And so Christina, would you read the summary for episode 11?
Yeah, this was tough to write in just a few paragraphs. So okay. Thinking Indigo is taking them to Silgar for the bounty reward, Troop B-84 willingly let him transport them from the Order Under. But it turned out Indigo had been paid by a higher bidder, someone who wants Troop B-84 dead. The group tried to fight their way out of an execution, but it wasn't until Luna spoke to Indigo about his past that he finally dropped his defenses. His soul finally remembered his true form, Mason, a grieving uncle waiting for his beloved niece, Evelyn. Whoa, am I crying? Oh, God, okay. Waiting for his beloved niece, Evelyn, to return from her mission in the fog so many years ago. He eventually forgot what he was waiting for and became unhallowed. Mason realized he could now rest in peace because he found Evelyn's soul in Luna's body. Bequeathing Luna with Saint Evelyn's protection, Mason moved on, leaving Indigo's robot body as a pile of metal.
I didn't think I was gonna cry from that either.
Damn, that episode was so crazy.
Yeah. Also, Christina always writes a spoiler-free version for me to use with the podcast, and the spoiler-free version is Luna learns about her past.
Just
Oh yeah, so we're like, hey, we had this in mind anyway. Let's just stay alive until we get to Silgar, and maybe we'll have a good chance. Just don't make Indigo, who we named Indigo, by the way. Don't
Really
make
cool name.
the Unhallowed mad. And then he revealed that there was a higher bidder, which we never learned who that bidder was, right?
Well,
Yeah,
we found
did.
a piece of paper in his pocket with a black hand on it.
It was, yeah.
It was the Black Hand, indeed. We tried to fight our way out, which we knew would not go well. There were guns involved. I threw one off a cliff, I think.
Yeah.
At least I tried to. Lacan managed to grab one. So now Lacan has a gun.
Freaking sick.
You thought he couldn't get better.
Is there anything you guys remember about that fight that we should address before we watch the clip about Uncle Mason?
Bo, you better say it all about Kadal, because it's all I'm thinking about with that fight.
Yo, Kadal just had this need, man.
Took
and it
the
was
wheel.
the need to grapple. And take that damn gun.
But I cannot explain to you all, like, this is an episode that you actually go watch the fight at least, because we're explaining, all three of us stopped down and we're like, all right, Kadal, your turn's coming up next. Remember what we're going to do? And he's like, grab the gun. And we're like, yeah, absolutely. You're going to grab the gun. He's like, I'm going to grab the gun. And we're like, all right, Kadal, it's your turn. He's like, I grapple. So you did. It was.
He was wilding, man. He's a mess. He's been spiraling. He's locked in. They're like, Kadal, you got it? Yeah, dude, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just make sure, dude, stop. I got it. Grapple.
He's been through a lot. His dad just betrayed him.
My world
He
has
really needs
crumbled.
a hug real bad.
I'm your father.
In fact, I believe that's where the whole like daddy issues Sun Soul Monk started, right, Bo?
Right after this.
Yeah.
Yep. So good.
All right. Shall we watch the Mason clip?
Let's dive in.
All right.
Oh, great.
I'm gonna be busy crying, so let's watch it.
Your perception of your surroundings just seems kind of almost non-existent. All you can really perceive is the figure in front of you, the Unhallowed. His outfit is the same tattered and faded purple coat, his large brim hat clutched tightly in his lap. But the hands and face are not the Warforged robot you're familiar with. He is human. Where there was this metallic jaw is now covered by an unkempt brown beard. His eyes are no longer a blue glow in a hollow space, but blue baggy eyes that convey immense sorrow. And while you can see and hear him, you feel that you're only witnessing, you're only perceiving, and you are not in control. Because you are not you. You're only witnessing someone's perspective. As he says, "There you are. Kneeling at your feet is your Uncle Mason, who you've seen from afar for what must be hundreds of years." He starts shaking, his eyes welling up. He says, I found you. After all this time you're here. It's been so long, I forgot. I forgot. God, what have I done? I went looking for you. I searched everywhere. I searched. I waited. I waited for so long, I forgot what I was waiting for. When I lost you, I lost everything. I lost myself. That wasn't me. You know that wasn't me, right? Evelyn knows that a journey into the mist went wrong. And after it went south, Evelyn's only been able to ever watch from afar as you've witnessed this journey, this evolution of your uncle losing his way, losing himself, turning into what he is now.
Evelyn just sobs with her arms around his neck, and when he says that wasn't me, she says, "Of course, I know. You would never. I'm sorry." It's okay.
Do you think after everything I've done, all the people I hurt, you think Lathander would still shine his light on me?
I kind of wipe the tears from his eyes and I say, "Of course he would. Don't cry. You can't hurt sunshine."
He looks into your eyes, and Luna, you can feel from his gaze that he's looking farther through Evelyn to you. And he says, "And you can't snuff moonshine." The rest of you witness the unhallowed fall to his knees as Luna is holding him. And the blue glow of this construct fades. And the body just falls into metal pieces. And you see as a warm yellow glow for a few seconds kind of emits from Luna. The glow fades. And the shooting has stopped.
Can Evelyn take her uncle's hand and just go walking in the field? And then sing him that song?
Mm-hmm.
So Nate, tell us about playing that scene as Mason.
I mean, Mason's definitely, like I was talking about earlier, one of those characters that's like really, really, near and dear to me. So, and also apparently I like doing horrible things to characters I care about. So him being in the position he was put in, becoming what he became, yeah, it was just big sad. A lot of pain he was going through. A lot of like processing he suddenly just started doing, and
Playing Evelyn and Luna at the same time and having my own reactions was a whole lot. was beautiful, and I felt afterwards so like uh it was so much to hold in one being. I was worried that I didn't do enough, but I think maybe I liked the amount of room it left for everyone watching to talk about it. If you're not aware of Dice Camera Action or of my other shows, Evelyn Marthane is a character that I play that's a Paladin of Lathander. Um, she's from Dice Camera Action and Acquisitions Incorporated. I've been playing her for 10 years. So finding out that this character shares a link like that with her was pretty wild. I had no idea that was coming. Um, the song that was mentioned, we never specifically said which song it was. It seems obvious that it would be a song that was special to Evelyn or to her family. So I've really enjoyed seeing some of the theories as to what that would be from people who know DCA very well. And gosh, I mean, there's so much to say about that, and nothing needed to be said about it. But yeah, that's how we stopped the fight. So that was good.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Anything else on episode 11 before we move on to the finale?
It
I get-
was good.
I would have one question for Luna, and especially like moving from this episode to the next one, because I wonder, like, did the other characters in the troop support Luna the way that you think she needed to be supported in that moment?
That was what I meant to say, actually. I knew there was another talking point that I wanted to put, which was that after that scene, Luna reappears because it's been Evelyn that whole time. Luna was grappling with like, I want to be my own person, and I find out that I've been carrying this other person, and then all of a sudden I have family for like a second, and then that family's gone and never really belonged to me to begin with. So Luna just starts crying. And the very simple reaction of the party to be like, hey, we're your family. We're here. It's okay. You're not alone, was like exactly what she needed. And as a player, that was really helpful because it's like, oh yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I needed to get out of this. So that was really cool. I think that like there's a lot in the party, it seems to me, there's a lot in the party that is unsaid, that at least Luna feels to be completely true without it ever having been said. Do you guys feel like that's true?
Like unsaid loyalty.
Yeah, and love
Unspoken.
and care. Like Lacan's always like, whatever, but I'm like, I believe Lacan loves me and would die for me. Like,
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah, we
like,
do kind of treat each other
Don't
like
tell
we already
anybody.
know. We
Yeah.
already know that we're family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like that was kind of the thing where right away we were given the opportunity to like break it up and go home. And like I think we asked you, Nate, you're like, what if we had said yes? And he's like, then you would have done that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like forcing this group to stay together, and they're not really forward with expressing any of it. But I think that there was just some, four people found like a safe spot to put their back to in this world, and like I think that's going to carry them a lot further than any like vows or like sworn things or anything.
And I think, at least I can speak for Cassia, like I don't think she's ever been understood the way that this group understands her. They actually like see her for as I think she always thought she was, like in this, keeping on the theme of like this power, like they see a power in her that makes her feel understood.
That's so cool. Also worth mentioning, Cassia was absolutely the MVP of that fight. She's like the only person that got anything done in that
Only
fight.
damage, yeah.
I feel like seldom do Kadal and Lacan really do much, which is funny because we're like the tanks. We're like the tanks, and then it ends up being Luna and Cassia. They're like, don't worry, buddies, we got this.
No, we're out front. Kadal's like catching bullets and flinging them back
Just
twice
doing
a fight.
just
and I'm
doing
just
the
like
most.
sidestepping and quipping at the enemies, and we're doing like 2-0-0-2. And meanwhile, Cassie's just in the back, like,
like fire web.
Just
And
like
then,
healing
yeah.
us.
And then freaking Luna's like hideous laughter. All right, we win. Like,
yeah. I think
and
my
then,
favorite.
yeah.
I was really proud of Cassia bringing that picture of, because we weren't sure what Nate did an amazing thing where the Unhollow's eyes kept kind of flickering, kind of implying that he was connecting with something, or like we were getting through to him in some way, like reminding him of his past or something. And Cassie was pretty convinced that it was actually Basterfield. Like, I don't know, that maybe was
That
just
makes
shipping
sense
them
with
a
what we
little.
had been seeing before.
Like, he has a type, like Basterfield has a type, and it might be, you know, if it didn't work out with Modem, then maybe like with Indigo, it could have like worked out. So she like summoned a picture
rebound.
of, yeah, just summoned that picture from Basterfield's desk of Basterfield and Modem, and it worked for like 1 second, but then I loved Luna. Then when you picked it up, I was like so convinced that it was working, but then it was that he was recognizing you, and that's so freaking cool. Oh my God.
It was so
good.
smart though, like the picture, because that's what I thought too, was we just needed to get him connected with Basterfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Basterfield was there. And it was
Mhm.
do
Under
anything.
Hiding
a
under the,
carriage.
yeah.
Oh man.
There are a lot of people who have a lot of questions, Nate, like how long was Mason waiting? When did Evelyn go into the mist, and when did he like start looking for her? I have a feeling you're gonna say, but do you want to share any information like that?
Those are great questions. Excellent questions. I love those questions.
Nice.
Great.
Thanks for pleasing our DM, guys.
Yeah.
I have a lot of theories, and honestly, I don't really know the answers. So, and a lot of my theories, one little like soapbox moment, the point of this show for me is that I love massively multiplayer storytelling. I love when we are all telling stories together, not just us, but all of you who are watching and hanging out with us online. 100%, especially these storylines, have been so influenced by your guys' ideas, the things you remind me that happened. So, thank you very much for that. All right. That was episode 11. We had all been pretty emotionally wrecked for all various reasons. And then it was time for our in-person live recorded season 1 finale, which was great fun. Highly recommend watching that one. But as far as the story goes, Christina, would you mind reading us the episode 12 recap?
Yeah, sure. So this is episode 12, A Night on the Town. Knowing they couldn't go back to the Order Under, and that they still had a mysterious bounty on their heads, Troop B-84 followed General Basterfield, 69th of his name, and Modem to their new home in Vale, a desolate, dangerous city that had a striking resemblance to Raynor. In the night, Luna reunited with her old pal Jar Jar, who invited her to his birthday party in Menzo Baranzan. The group, including Basterfield and Modem, decided, heck, why not go to the City of Spiders for a birthday party? On the way, the group killed some drow, which probably won't affect them mentally in the future at all, and wound up in the court of Madam, and I couldn't remember her name, I'm so sorry, because I was so dazzled by her beautiful hair, who asked them to prove their valor by dueling her shadow dragon. Once the beast fell to the group's collective awesomeness, she granted them immunity for 3 hours to attend her great uncle's birthday party. The man Luna called Jar Jar turned out to be Jarlaxle, a very old, scary dude, hell-bent on becoming the singular ruler of the Underdark. Taking Lacan's above artifact dice, Jarlaxle informed Troop B-84 that they'd have the opportunity to join his army or perish with anyone who stands in his way.
Isn't that great?
Just
Ta-da.
such a fun, like I love when instead of goodie bags, like he just was like, no, I'm taking these dice and and giving you this horrible news instead.
Let's start from the beginning because there was so much to this episode. Traveling with Basterfield and Modem to their house was special. Lacan, I feel like, had a really good time there, especially checking it out, making sure it was safe.
Just peak rolls for me to start
baby.
things out.
Yeah, baby.
I would feel worse, but you were all down there with me at the very fucking bottom of the
Yes, we
barrel.
were.
So everybody took a turn.
Yep.
There's not a whole lot to say about it. I just really enjoyed going to their house. Went to a city that looked suspiciously like ours, but was completely demolished. We actually, Christina wrote killed some drow, but I feel like that may be a mental protection against what they actually were, because weren't they driders?
Well,
It was the drow that ambushed us right out of the
Drows
tunnel,
ambushed
right?
Yeah,
us.
no. The drider just touched me
Oh, right,
on my leg,
right.
for the record, with its leg.
The Drider touched me is like a fanfic of Hooves and Kisses.
Yeah.
No!
Oh my god.
No, but it is honestly, it's tearing the fandom apart because
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack.
Mhm.
So
Oh my
just the title alone,
Maybe
Yeah.
that's how Cassio will deal with it.
the discourse and the Underdark.
Oh my god.
Also, Nate, did Luna just decide it was Jar Jar's birthday party because he gave them an invitation
Ah,
and he didn't say what the invitation was for, right? He just said, "Here's an invitation."
No, she was like, "Is it your birthday?" He's like, "Sure."
That's crazy.
that would happen so fast. It became canon so quickly that it
That's
was
so
his
crazy because I really
birthday.
thought it was.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because Luna even said it there, and even they were just like, "Oh, we didn't even know that."
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it was so unsuspicious that he just showed up in a magic portal in that house at night to give them an invitation. Because they're friends.
That's what happens when Luna doesn't sleep.
Well,
She gets in visitors.
it was his birthday, so we ended up trying to go further into Menzo Baranzan, had the fight with the Drow. That was actually a pretty successful fight.
Oh, that was great.
Mhm.
As
Oh, we
far as
look
our
cool
fights
as
go.
hell. Yeah.
Yeah. Made it to this like very fancy dinner party where this lady was being like very snobby to us, and then we were like, bring it on. And we misunderstood because she was like, prove your valor and I will let you enter. And we were like, oh, valor. So we tried like bowing and like protecting her and stuff. And she literally just meant fight my dragon. And we were really try hard. But we ended up winning. Did some really cool stuff in that fight also. This was a good episode for us combat wise, which is saying something.
Bro. Yeah.
The teleporting us to the table
Yeah.
of the feast, like that was we were at the final like peak act of our movie at the end of the season finale. Like we were just doing outrageous cinematic shit.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That was cool. And then when we did find our way to Madame's great uncle's party, Jar Jar, it turned out he was the Pirate King, and there was a giant pirate party around him happening, which did confirm the birthday party fantasy.
Yeah.
And yet again, had no inkling that this was Jarlaxle.
No.
None. And again, if you know me in my past shows, I have feelings about Jarlaxle. They're not positive. So that was sure something to find out. And also he revealed, I don't think this is in the clip, but that his goal is to destroy Raynor in order to accomplish his own ends.
Oh yeah.
And that go ahead.
And that he needs the person named Raynor, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he needs to that there is a person named Raynor who is one of the founders of this Underdark, and he needs to vanquish him in order to accomplish his ends, which he elaborates on in great detail. So this will be our longest clip, but it's worth it because it is the payoff of all of the mystery hunting we have been doing the entire season. So please listen to Jarlaxle monologue his evil plan now.
Oh my god.
Captain of like.
It's been so long since I've pondered the events, so forgive me if I'm short on some details. Hundreds of years ago, a powerful man, nay, a creature. The way he's conveying this, he's very, very, very animated, very...
There was a firefight.
Yeah, he seems like pretty stoked on this. He says, a creature said to be born from the sharpest bard's tongue and birthed from the womb of chaos incarnate, whose blood runs only to fuel his hatred. He brought a curse to the lands above, the Dark Marquess, as he's called. A war was waged against him, but the dark powers overwhelmed any and all resistance. His armies took no prisoners. Paladins of light, vessels of deities, warriors who could transcend time itself, all fell by his forces. Just under 1 million people fled down here into the Underdark, running from servitude to his reign or dying from resistance. And to this day, he and his dark powers reign as king in the world above, where his clouds of darkness flood all the land, where only he and his forces may freely navigate perpetual dread. Where do I come in all of this, you ask? Oh, I'm glad you did. In an old life, from what I recall, I was the charmer. As you see, like, a little flap of skin just kind of falls off of his face. I had influence. I had a way with the ladies and the men. I wasn't picky. And with the world being thrown into chaos in the Underdark, I saw an opportunity. I offered my services to rule and run the world below as he would see fit above, in exchange for the power to do so. And we left it to fate, a dice roll. And this, my treasured dice, the very ones that won the wager to grant me power, in them hold power themselves and a crucial key to bring me closer to perfection.
You can get more perfect? He says very sarcastically.
Unbelievable, I know, but I still have so much to accomplish. I still have a long ways to go before I can become a vessel of Bane.
Do we know that? Have we heard of that? Is that anything mentioned in the stories ever? No. Okay, cool.
Is Bane the dark one who gave you the powers?
Bane is something that your cooperative has lost. Gods.
I'm sorry, what's that?
What's a gods?
A being of great and unfathomable power, capable of, well, had this little bit of it, had some green wine. Who can accomplish things beyond your wildest dreams.
Oh, like Mother, like the Marquette, like that royal lady we just with the dragon?
My niece. No, far beyond that. The shadow wyverns. These are fun little gifts that the Dark Mark has granted us.
What was the Dark Marquess's name?
Come to think of it, that's my mind. It's been so long, I forgot his name. Or perhaps I erased it completely from my mind. For how horrendously he fucked me over on this deal. And now with that, I need one more thing from the lot of you, and then you'll be free to go wherever it is. Tell me where he is.
Who?
At that, he stands straight. His eyes glow a much brighter green. He says, "Don't fucking toy with me! You know who, exactly. Your precious first general, your founder, Rayner. I know he's alive. He's the last one that stands in my way. Now tell me where he is."
Rayner's just a place.
Maybe it's the green wine.
Yes, maybe. Maybe it's the green wine.
Why would he be... What did he do to fuck you over? And what are you trying to accomplish in the first place? Why do you need the dice again?
The dice are just one of a few remaining steps before I can rule this putrid world that's left to me, this shit show that I inherited. But it's what I set out to do. It's what a greater purpose has called me to do.
But why would you want to rule it if you don't want to rule it? It's a shit show? You don't, why would you want to be a part of it then?
Better to rule an entire hell than serve someone else's vision.
Why not just take back the surface then? If it exists and it's so important to you.
No. That world is long gone. But I can take this one.
So then, Rayner is the only thing in your way?
Rayner is the last city of the cooperative that stands. And once it falls, this world opens up to me. And I don't know how and I don't know why. And I'm not sure if I believe you.
Are you the Black Hand?
I strive to be the Black Hand of Bane.
There you have it. The villain monologue. There was more where that came from too. And it was very satisfying to finally get some answers. As me and as Luna. Nate, how was it to play Jarlaxle that way?
He's funny. He's fun. In that, like, you hate him and you're very much supposed to hate him. It's like satisfying too. Like even just playing him is so like, I don't know. He just sucks, and it's fun to lean into that because he's also just like playing off of how he is, at least for like the canon I'm aware of, like even with him being this basically walking corpse, still that like disillusioned charisma and just like that overconfidence. All of that.
Benashi in chat says he's such a deeply hateable character.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Smarmy.
A couple questions in chat that are great for you, Nate, that you may or may not want to answer. Caliph Marone asks, is the entirety of Faerun ruined by this dark Marquess everywhere?
Who
I
knows?
don't know. Anna Arlene said the troop didn't know anything about the fates of the rest of the cooperative settlements, right?
Right.
And then Raynor being a founder, Sawsbucky said, Raynor being a founder still makes me wonder what the fates of the rest of Torch and their settlements. For people who aren't familiar with Torch, this really is the collection of Nate and my favorites from everything. But can you talk a little bit about Torch, the founders, and Raynor, what we know, and what some of the background of those characters for people who weren't aware of Torch and its brief existence?
Yeah. So Torch was a D&D show we had going that unfortunately didn't make it past pilot. But two of the characters in that game were Raynor and Vale. So
Christina's face.
so there being cities named after founders, and those two characters' names coming up has some implications. And also like the like, I guess, reveal of that, because basically, and this is something where it's like, I don't know if I would have conveyed, if I had conveyed this clear enough as a DM, but more or less your characters were always taught like, yeah, Raynor is the city that's part of this alliance called the Cooperative. And there's other cities like this part of this cooperative, and we all work together, blah, blah, blah. And then more or less, like the first city you saw that was part of the cooperative was Vale, which is run down, and it's basically revealed like, yeah, no, Raynor's the only one left. And like after that, Jarlaxle reveals that once Raynor goes down, then the entire world is his. Just in case that wasn't cleared up.
And Raynor the person and Raynor the city are connected in their fate? Or Raynor the person needs to be killed? The city doesn't really matter.
What he said was he believes that Raynor the person is still alive. He wants him dead. And he also cannot personally interfere with the like city's doing. So basically it's like once the founder's dead, the city falls. It's kind of vague what the course of events is when this goes down. But basically he's like, yeah, the founder of the city needs to die. I can't, I can't like just waltz up in there and start fucking around with stuff. But clearly he has other means to like, get his bony little fingers in there.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else from the finale that we need to be sure to chat about. Anything from the episode we missed?
Just trying to think about, I know there are a couple threads going forward as we prepare for season 2, and there was a line that you dropped in response to Lacan trying to buy his way out of something. It was actually back with Indigo, where Lacan was like, we'll pay you double not to kill us. And Indigo said something like, oh, your parents couldn't even muster half or something.
Yeah.
The offer was, this was something I went over like post. I'm just like, I don't know if this landed. Yeah, you said like my family will pay you double, and he said your family wasn't even worth half.
Crazy.
So we'll be unpacking that in the next couple weeks.
There's implications there.
And we still don't know about Marlowe being a doppelganger. So
we don't know about Marlowe.
The egg still
The
hasn't
spider
hatched.
egg. Skeeter.
Skeeter's okay.
Skeeter's
He's okay,
good.
but like,
But
what's
where
he
is
doing?
he?
Pluck, though, Basterfield had Pluck in his employ working on a lot of paperwork is the last we knew, and that we weren't allowed to like talk to him or ask him questions about it. But yeah, lots to think about as I toss and turn over the next couple of weeks.
There was a moment that we mentioned Zarnis, and Jarlaxle had mentioned that it was about time that Zarnis finally took over the Order Under, or something around that line. to confirm
Oh,
that he was with the Black Hand.
Simoth also pointed out that we learned Pluck was working with Madame Ava, but we never learned the details what he was
There's
doing
some
for her.
connection there.
And Kadal's music box.
Oh,
And
cutie.
how Cassie is going to get her family to join Jarlaxle's army.
Right.
I know. Yeah, that's something that Cassia was definitely not saying during that conversation, but definitely thinking about because I think she's kind of the only one with a family, right? In this group. That we know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You just have to
But
keep
they're
bringing
all
it
at
up,
the
don't you?
farm, just like how's she gonna be like, come on, Grandpa, let's go join the army, it'll be fun. But also that's evil, right? I don't know. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to think before joining that army, I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Well, this was much longer than we planned. Clearly, we really like talking about this show. At least I do. I appreciate all of you being so patient, the cast and the audience. I hope if you're watching this later in order to get caught up, it fulfills you. And before we go, just the last thing I want to do is go around to each character, including the DM, and just answer the question, where do you think your character started versus now? Like, what do you think is the biggest evolution that your character has gone through? And what is your character most excited to resolve in season 2 or excited to continue moving forward in season 2? I feel like, I don't know, Rachel, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think I'll just go with what I just mentioned. I think Lacan started off like the very first day when he met everyone, even back in the pre-show arc, very standoffish. He hasn't voluntarily revealed a lot about himself until he got put on the spot with the letter to House Demonstrata. He didn't talk about his family being gone or what his situation was. And kind of like we talked about over the episodes today, communication in this group is something that I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how it expands because to people outside the group, watching Kadal talk to Zarnis or, watching Luna talk to Madame Ava or Cassia talk to anyone, obviously we have great external communication, but internally, I don't know, we've also got just amazing actors and amazing creative people in this group. So I'm looking forward to that on a player level and a character level. And I'm hoping for some growth for my little sad boy, but I don't know. Kadal, what are you thinking? Human Bo. Sorry, what are you thinking, Bo?
I was just thinking it's interesting going back and seeing the evolution for Kadal because he really started excited to meet people, serve the order under, make friends, and um and not prove his worth, but impress or be acknowledged by Zarnis. And every time something happened, it was like a weight on his shoulders, and things just kept kind of, or I guess his perspective of reality kept being shifted, and things weren't really what he thought. And so to come to this place, I don't think he's really in a good place right now because it's like I really don't trust anyone anymore. And um I I think he's just really resentful and jaded right now, but I'm really interested to see how he navigates through, his personal, his world crumbling and the people that he cares about betraying him. I'm interested to see how he responds and navigates through the distrust of that betrayal.
Who do you tag next, Bo?
Cassia.
Oh yeah. Cassia started 3 feet tall and she ended about 2'11". No, no. I think that Cassia came in as a very like kind of blank slate. Not really knowing that she had anything to contribute. And like how Kadal is finding that he has mistrust for others, I think she's gonna have to really figure out how to deal with this mistrust of herself because she's kind of been acting and not dealing with it. And something we didn't talk about in, I think it was episode 11, like she had a panic attack and it surprised me. And I'm curious to see it, when you don't deal with things, they come out in other ways. So I'm curious as Christina to see where that goes. And I think Cassie is probably just excited to rest. So we'll see if she actually deals with it. What about you, Luna?
Blank Slate really resonates with me because Luna really she started with having no experiences other than what was happening in the now, and turns out what you care about as a person is very based in your experiences. So, you know, at the beginning, she really, really cared about the people in her troop because that's literally the only thing she has to care about. And so learning a lot about her creation, becoming even more connected to these people in her troop, in a way they're her family first, because as far as like her history, they were first in terms of what she remembers. Um, and I am excited about her kind of coming more into personhood and becoming more of a fleshed out, like, this is where I came from, this is what I care about, maybe these are what my values are, and building them from this kind of innocent weirdo scratch has been really fun. Something else I have thought a lot about is that separation of Luna and Evelyn, because as the player, even my first reaction was like, no, this is a different character. It's not the same. Because I've played Evelyn for so long, I was really afraid of like letting it be the same, just playing the same character over and over again. But I think thinking about how kind of the soul of Evelyn and her protection relates to a new person is really interesting. And thinking about how Luna will process that and be like, what makes me an individual? Who am I as an individual? I'm excited for that. So I think I can see her becoming a lot more decisive about like joining Jarlaxle's army. I think she's just like, nah. There's no consideration of that. And I think in the past she would have been like, well, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
So, Nate, what about you? What specific threads or characters or anything are you like really excited to look forward to in season 2?
Well, there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of closure, and at the same time, obviously, a lot of like, okay, but what does that mean? There's, I don't know, there's some stuff that and again, like as a DM, I try not to make everything too just on rails. But if things go as I like think they'll probably go, uh, I think some fun, interesting stuff is going to happen pretty quickly. And I also yeah, I don't know, it's just fun. It's been really fun. It's been cool to see how you and your characters are interacting with this weird, really vague world that's been built, like just being presented with question after question, and like how you navigate that. It's surprisingly sandboxy for some people's first session, but overall, I think it's been pretty fun. I hope y'all have been having fun.
Yeah.
The most fun. Yeah.
I also have, if we may, I'm assuming we're closing out here pretty soon. I also have the title of the next session.
Oh yeah, episode 12 was A Night on the Town. What's the next session?
The next session is called Where the Road Parts.
Ooh.
So there's a road?
So many implications.
So many.
You know that a DM has conditioned your party well when he says anything and we're like, oh,
Like, a lone
There's gonna be
sponge
an
will be like,
Oh my god.
I have not yet seen anyone notice the theme of Nate's
Well, not you said it.
episode titles. I think it's pretty obscure.
I've looked at them a bunch of times and I tried, and I'm gonna feel so dumb. I know when you.
There is a
point it out.
theme. Someone will find it. I wasn't going to mention it.
Sorry.
It's all good.
I think it's cool. All right. All that said, we've been talking about season 2. We've been hyping up season 2. We're excited for season 2. It is going to begin
2026, baby.
April. You confused my brain. April 30th, which is not next Wednesday, the Wednesday after. So 2 weeks from today at our normal time, Wednesday, 7 p.m. on Twitch and YouTube. What's wrong, Rachel?
What am I gonna do next Wednesday?
We can
Take that long rest that we never got.
Bro, it's my makeup. Okay, I'm not that sleepy.
That doesn't necessarily mean we won't think of something we want to stream next Wednesday, but season 2 will begin April 30th. We really, really hope you'll come join us. We also hope that if you're enjoying the show, you will encourage other people to also come join us. The more people that watch the show, the more people that chat, the more people that hang out in the Discord and give us ideas, the more our creativity grows, the more it makes us able to reach out for more support from sponsors and things like that. So we really appreciate everything you've done to make this season possible. This really was a dream for me. Really appreciate all of you making it come true. I hope you really liked it. Speaking of support, I want to thank Platypus Girl 14, Mercury Blue, and Saws Bucky for their financial support this episode with both subscriptions and tips. Thank you so much. That goes really, really far for us, and we really appreciate it. Also want to take one more moment to thank our season 1 sponsor, Roll for Gravity. It's roll4gravity.com. You can visit their website to find all sorts of tools, especially those for scheduling D&D and finding a table to play D&D if you're looking for that. They have been a huge blessing to us. They made so much possible for us this season. So please, if you see them around or find them online, tell them thank you on our behalf. That wraps up our season 1 recap. I apologize to everyone as a professional host and producer for my ultimate lack of time management skills. This was much longer than intended, but it felt really good. So I hope it did for you guys too.
Oh, so much.
It was great. And Anna, thank you so much for putting this all together. Nate for DMing. Like, it really has been fucking wonderful and special. And I appreciate you guys so much for all the effort you put into this.
Peek under the hood. During this, in addition to being part of the stream, I plan the next couple sessions. So,
multitasking.
Being inspired by our pain.
Yep. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be cool.
Oh, God.
All right. I love you all. We will see you very, very soon. Don't forget to follow us at StonesThrow RPG on socials. Thank you for Benashi for the 10 memberships on YouTube. Under the Wire, more support.
Oh, thank you so much.
You guys are the best. I would stay up talking all night, but Luna's got a trance.
Just got weird dudes to me.
Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.